Okay, we have Oak Springs with us tonight. Who's gonna speak, for you guys? Who's gonna
Well,
be,
I'll start. My name is Bart Hopper, and then I'll kind of just, as needed.
as it goes, and you'll introduce us
Ask
along?
him questions if I don't know the answer or anything.
Okay,
like
Mr.
that,
Harper,
kinda get it
the
going.
floor is yours.
All right, thank
as-
y'all
as-
for coming. I like this little format. My name is Bart Hopper, Hopper Communities.
Thank you, David. Just
Yes, sir.
to let you know, you present tonight before council, and within the next couple of days, we collect comments from council, and we'll share it back to you guys for any more feedback. And just wanted you to know about the process. So, like I said, present, we get comments from council, we add staff's comments if there is something new that we're not familiar with, and then we share it back to you guys for
Okay.
incorporating the comments in the plan. Thank you, David.
Got you.
Sure.
Okay. Where are we? Did we get all the stuff that we sent over here, in here, Rox? Well, that's not the way it started. When I was looking at it.
Is that little white thing anything?
Shirley, you want to just come sit next to me? The mayor's chair is open, but the computer is on.
I can wish for one day, right?
I'd be more than happy to have you sit next to me. You can come. You want me to carry some of your stuff, Shirley?
No, that I can be prepared.
Or I'll share it with you if you,
I can see David's and I can see
Right.
both.
You have the PDF?
Even if you're close,
I mean, it's,
I appreciate it. And I'll just,
Or you want to just move? You want me to just move down one?
don't worry, we're okay. When the meeting starts, if it's not working, I'll turn it
They have the file, they just don't have the program, so they're running it through the internet, they're just making it. You know what I'm saying, Rox, do you have like a Photoshop, or not, Adobe PDF viewer? Because it's kind of made this, some plans real big and some small.
it's kind of jacked up.
Somebody's working on this right now. I haven't seen an announcement.
That's me, but when we get to
Oh,
next
that's you.
slides, see how they're tiny? Some of them are. I guess I
Okay.
can zoom
are you
in.
doing that down
No,
there, Mike?
let's see if we can't fix
Oh,
this.
no, that's fine.
Yes, sir.
Box that typically happens when I
or-
pull
or-
the file from a different program, and sometimes if I scan it in, it'll come in right. If you scan it and bring it, incorporate it back in. He sends me files, I get
Okay.
them, that often skews my reports I put online.
Mike, can we look at this directly in PowerPoint? Okay. All right. Okay, so it's gonna- Yeah.
That would do.
Zoom in.
We'll just zoom in, Clay, we'll just wait. I'm not quite sure.
How does it look on your monitors? Does it look kind of, are they all different sizes?
We'll be all right.
Oh, if y'all look good, that's what matters.
Yeah, we can proceed. I think we'll be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I'll let you handle that, because you're gonna enlarge it and stuff.
Yeah.
So, anyway, as I was saying, sorry about the delay here.
No problem.
I'm Bart Hopper with Hopper Communities, and we're gonna kind of walk through this thing top to bottom, but where's the, do you have the one about Hopper Communities? Maybe I'll start there, flip that one down. Kind of give you a little overview of us. You know, we've been doing this for a long time. I've been actually developing properties since, here in Charlotte since 1990. But my company, we established in 2007. Clay McCullough has been with me for, 12, 13 years. And keeps me out of trouble for the most part. And we've done some commercial stuff as well. We work here in Charlotte. We also do work in Raleigh, Durham area, Charleston, and I'm from Texas, so we do some work in Austin, Texas as well. And some of the projects that we've done, around here, which I don't know if you can enlarge those or not. Does those show up on y'all's better?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You may be familiar with a few of these. We try to pick a few that we've done kind of in the general area. Sterling Manor is one that we recently completed. Stallings Road. Stonewater Bay is up on Lake Norman. Mount Holly, if you will. Farrington Oaks, Min Hill is one that we've done. And then one other fairly recent one in Stallings was Vickery. So, and we've probably done, 25 of these type developments, 30 over, my time. But this project we're excited about, and I guess what I might do is let kind of Brent, we've been working closely with with your team over here, your staff, to come up with what we've come up with. So I'm gonna let Brent maybe kind of run it through. Brent's with Isaac's group. He's our land planner and engineer, and I'll let him kind of walk through kind of what we've done. I think you're familiar with, here's the site layout, right here where the site sits, and you can see that it's kind of a little bit unique the way it, I will say, backs up to the Monroe Expressway bypass there. So we're trying to kind of figure out what can we do back there to work the best, given that. And we've got a lot of, more than the required open space on the plan. We've worked closely to make sure we've got amenities like walking trails, and we've carefully coordinated our entrance. But Brent, maybe you just kind of quickly walk through the plan.
Good evening. My name is Brent Cowan. I'm a civil engineer, land planner with the Isaacs Group. We've worked with Bart on several projects, some of which he just mentioned, Stallings Road and Vickery. Stallings Road is really, Sterling Manor is on Stallings Road. It's really a stone's throw away from this site, although it's in a different municipality. But we started working on this site, I don't know, maybe back in the fall. Compiled the land, started doing some land plans. We met with staff. I think the first meeting we met with staff was the first hurricane that came through, and had a layout, sat down, talked, took some of their feedback on the plan, went back to the drawing board, implemented that, implemented their comments, came back and met with them. I don't know, maybe it was about a month ago. Took some more of their comments, and this is the plan that we've presented to you tonight. Some of the things that we've incorporated as we've been working with it. Well, first of all, let me go over sort of what we're showing. We're showing total site area. Oh gosh, where is that? It's about 61, almost just shy of 62 acres, and we are showing 116 single-family lots and 128 multifamily townhome lots. Some of the things that staff had asked us to do is to really spice up the entrance off of Oak Springs Road. So I think the first time we met there, we had slightly different configuration. We went back to the drawing board, and what we did there is we put green area all around. I don't know if Clay, if you could zoom into that entrance there a little bit. We added a median entry, a median at the entry, and then on all three sides of the intersection, we gave some common open space so we could heavily landscape that. So as you're pulling in, you're not going to see the sides of any houses. You're just going to see greenery as you pull in, and then once you either go straight through the intersection or make a left or a right, then you'll start seeing your houses. We also gave a healthy 50-foot buffer along the road, along Oak Springs Road, to try to buffer the back of the houses from the road, so people won't see it as you drive by. If you would, Clay, pan down, please. The entrance off of Oscar Robinson, we have also widened that and given an entrance there. I think staff wanted to see a little bit more landscaping there. I think Katie had asked that Katie and Rox had asked that we had, the multifamily, the townhome units, that we step those. And what I've put a note on the plan saying that articulation, you want to break up the big masses of the front of the building so you just don't see house after house after house as you're driving down the road. So we've articulated the face of the building. Each unit will step backwards and forwards to give that break. I've also put a note in saying that, we also reserve the right to maybe push the buildings back, the entire building back a little bit. So if the articulation of the unit is not enough, we can move the buildings themselves. I think the parks, the amenities, was something important to staff. At one point, we had just one big amenity that's in the middle of the site between the singles, centrally located between the singles and the townhome units. Staff wanted to see a couple more of those, specifically within the townhome section. So we've got 3 more there. They're small little pockets that we're thinking of things like playgrounds. Well, right now, we're calling them parks, and we've just got a general definition over to the side that a park can be a variety of things, playgrounds, tot lots, dog parks, things like that. What else might be worthy of mentioning? As Bart mentioned, I think the common open space that's required, we're exceeding that pretty healthily. I think we're required to have 22.8, yep. So we're exceeding it by about 3.5 acres, 3.5 acres. Tree save area, we are exceeding that as well. Of course, we haven't done any detailed design yet because we got to rezone it first. So the next step after this and taking your input would be to go through the preparation of the plans that would officially be submitted for your rezoning consideration. I don't know that I have anything else to add.
No, I think one thing to note is, all the greenway over there will have walking trails, so that, gives you a little feel. And that's quite a lot of linear footage of walking trails to provide connectivity on it, which, is an amenity these days for folks to be able to walk their dogs. We're seeing a lot of that. We'll have a dog park too, as well as the walking trails. We'll have a quality entrance monument out front. But anyway, that's kind of where we're heading, and we're here today to talk to you guys about it and get your feedback. We've kind of worked on it from a market study and desirability perspective on what we think will sell, obviously. We've also set in there some architectural standards, no vinyl and some various, was that Clay up there, mixtures of accents?
Materials.
And several of them that we've gone ahead and, voluntarily included that in there. So we'll have some houses that look good. And these are examples of what we'd envision doing there, quite frankly. These are builders that we've worked with in the past and we've talked to about this project. But, examples only, but, pretty good examples. Huh? Oh, yeah, the annexation, actually, it would be an annexation of the bulk of the property if you really look at it from a breakout perspective, and most of it's still in the county, which we would, be annexing into the city. But anyway, we're here. Thank y'all for your time, and we're, mainly, any questions you have or anything.
Yeah, hopefully we do. Do we have any?
Yeah, we do.
I bet we have questions.
Sure.
Who
Great.
wants to go first?
I'll go
Marcus?
first.
All right, Mark.
Thank you for coming. Few questions.
Sure.
You're saying that part of the property has to be annexed into the town.
Right.
What's the amount? 22 acres has to be annexed?
Did I-
22. I gave it.
So there's 40 that's in the town right now, the 22 needs to be, okay, all right.
I can show you kind of how it breaks out.
No, I mean, just telling me.
Yeah,
Just,
I mean-
just telling me 22, that's fine. That's-
yeah.
Right,
2 and 37.
yep. And then the other question that I have is, in terms of the single-family house, houses and the townhomes. Can you give us an idea in terms of whether they're 1 or 2 bedrooms and also the price points for this?
Yeah, I mean, yes, I can.
But I am asking that question with the idea and knowing that the market conditions can change. Right now, the economy is, we're not sure. Hopefully, we do well, but a lot of signs are pointing to a downturn.
Yeah.
But if you can probably give us an estimate, we're not going to hold you to this, but
Happy to. We see the houses being 3 and 4 bedrooms. We see the townhomes being 2 and 3 bedrooms. We see project pricing to, for the houses to be in the high 2s to mid-high 3s. Townhomes to be in the mid 2s to, low 3s. I mean, high 2s, somewhere in there.
okay. And my last question for now before I turn it over is, you don't have a builder yet that you would like to work with, but
That's
you said
right.
you have spoken to quite a few.
Oh, yeah, we've talked to several. I mean, we do a lot of work with, all the builders in the area. And so getting a builder is not going to be a problem.
All right. And the quality in terms of vinyl siding, hardy board, brick, that type of thing, that's the kind of quality you're looking to project in
Right,
terms of.
and we put some guidelines. I mean, you can't totally hamstring yourself.
I understand.
But we've got some pretty detailed guidelines. I don't know are they in there? There should be,
I'll zoom in.
yeah. I may let you. Yeah, they're there, and you can probably find them. They're there at the bottom left corner of the site plan. So
Okay.
that kind of gives you architectural standards and whatnot.
All right. That's all the questions that I have for now. I don't want to ask all of them, but
But, for example, the garage doors would be architectural detailing. It wouldn't be just some big, garage door coming down,
okay.
that type of thing.
All
Okay.
right. Jerry.
Shirley, you got any questions?
What's your impact on the schools with the amount of children from all these townhomes?
That's a great question. Let me get my little notes. Linda helped us put together, Linda, you actually helped us with the study. Ross Haber and Associates did a preliminary study for us. We had talked to Rox and them and went ahead and thought, let's go ahead and do this now before the meeting. Let me get my other note. So, in terms of what he came up with, and we can give, I don't know if we've given them the study yet, but we will. I think it's a good thing that y'all require it, and we went ahead and did it. But we showed this, I didn't show, this study by this, licensed group indicated that you'd probably, and there's always a little bit of a range, but somewhere in the 110 to 125 total students, of which the bulk of them come from the single family versus the townhomes. This shows the townhome range in the 19 to 26 range total for the 128 townhomes. And then somewhere 84 to 103 students from the single family homes, which, obviously you can see that's the bulk. Probably your townhomes will probably be more of a demand for your millennials, maybe empty nesters and that kind of thing. Stallings, and then he further takes this breakdown and says, well, what age group or what grades are they going to be in? So out of that, I added them up. The numbers vary slightly, but I came up with right around 84 of them, of the 123, would be Stallings Elementary School, which is, as you may be aware, it's got good capacity. It's only 75% at this point. So that's the bulk of the students. And then you've got Porter Ridge for approximately 25 students of this 123. And that's the middle school it's at currently, and Linda helped me do some work on this, it's at 95% capacity, but they'll be making some improvements so that after the improvements, it's back, to an 89% capacity. And then the final one is the high school, which he showed in his study about approximately 12 total high schoolers. And that's Porter Ridge High School, and it's got, it's at 95%. And I don't think there are, at this point, any plans to improve that school. Hope that answers your question.
Jerry?
Yeah, what is the present zoning of the property that's in Indian Trail and the property that's in the county?
What is that, Brent, the exact?
County zoning is R40, and then the Indian Trail, I might have
It's up the top corner.
It's
I
SF1.
think we have it on our sheet. I forget.
place says it's SF1.
SF1.
It's on here. Right there. Existing zoning SF1.
That's that is, in the town, if you will.
And you're requesting it to be rezoned to,
What would you call this? Rocks, what did we,
So it's, we could accommodate this to a couple avenues. We could do this as a planned unit development, or we could just create two different districts, one to support the townhomes and one to support the single-family concept. I don't think we've gotten into that detail yet.
And what is it now, Rox?
What
Single
the
family.
applicants has presented, I can't speak for the county, it's SF1 in the town, and then what they reported R40 in the county makes sense for that area. That's what I would expect it to be.
so if you were to develop the property by right, how many houses could you put on the property and how many townhomes could you put on the property?
not near as many. I don't know. We didn't really study that. If we can't get it rezoned, we probably won't we will not purchase the property. Minimal.
Is this the only design that you've come up with?
We preliminary looked at also a study with just single family and no towns. But, the more we kind of looked at it with with that whole new Monroe bypass being there and backing up to that, we just felt like that would be a better fit for townhomes along that. If you can move it over a little bit to show how that works. And coming in off the secondary, what I'd call kind of the secondary street back there.
Yeah, because Oscar Robinson is now a frontage road, and it dead ends right after our property.
Yeah.
So Oscar Robinson, right now, it ends right here, and there's a couple houses back in these big lots. But, so our entrance would be right here, right before it turns to a dirt road somewhere back in here.
Yes, correct. But, again, you can see you've got the bypass that basically goes all along those townhomes.
Have you done a traffic impact analysis?
Not yet. We've hired our consultant, and they're ready to have a preliminary meeting with your team over here. Have they called y'all and contacted y'all, Rox, yet? Is anybody over there? Randy? You talked to Michael Wickline or Randy Goddard? I think you probably talked to Michael.
It was Michael.
Yeah,
He
so
sent me
we-
he sent me an email with your stuff y'all was studying.
So, you don't want to, at this point, you want to kind of get a little better handle on where you need to be going before you start spending money on TIAs. So, yes, sir.
So if this council, if we were resistant to the townhomes, would you consider putting in single family?
Yes, I would rather you consider doing townhomes because I think it's a better fit, and we've talked to all our builders, and, we think it's a good spot. We don't think there are any townhomes in that immediate area, and it would just be a good, resource there, but, the answer is yes.
Mike?
Thank you.
What kind of amenities would you have?
We'd certainly have a nice dog park and playground, and we'd have a lot of walking trails, pedestrian connectivity, parks, seating areas, with benches, we like to do little benches in those little pocket parks, if you will. We might do a pool clubhouse, but we wouldn't want to commit to that. Those things start to get real expensive. So but not saying we wouldn't want to preclude it. But at this point, just from running your numbers, you're not sure whether that's something that would be of that much interest to everybody or not.
Done? Just one, I just want to pick up with what Jerry said.
Yes, sir.
Where you're, I think Jerry just assumed you were in that most of the property, and you said it was in the county, but you said not all of it, correct? Is
Yes.
part of it in a municipality? Is-
Yes, I can, let me just, I had Clay draw this up. I can come up there.
Sure.
So, the pink would be what's currently in town.
Is it in the town of Indian
No,
Trail?
the
Is
pink's
that what
county.
you're saying now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Huh?
The pink is county.
Oh, Pink's County, backwards. Pink is county.
Gotcha.
Here.
So you got a little bit in Indian Trail.
Yeah. We got mine a little bit.
Well, if I'm looking at that right, I mean, as far as the number of homes that go in it. and-
Yeah. This is the Indian Trail, currently 37 acres. And
Okay, so the majority of it is
Yes, that's
is
what
in
I-
that,
yes,
oh,
that's
okay.
right.
All right, I thought it was just the opposite.
I thought I heard it the opposite way too, but
Yeah.
it's 37 in town and 20 out.
And so, help me out too on this rocks, because I'm a little slow, you know that. So how many homes can can they put on that property now?
An exact calculation is going to be based on a site-specific design, but if we were to look at just the town zoning of SF1, you're talking about half-acre lots at that point, or 2 units per acre.
So if it's 37 acres, is that what, I can figure that one out.
Yeah, not many.
74, there you go. And, you know, one of the things that always comes to mind when people can do that, or when they have the opportunity, when they could go ahead and put 74, they could put 74 homes there as they please on half-acre lots, correct? I mean, there's no specifications to that.
I mean, there's backing out, I mean, you've got roads and open space and things like that, so it probably wouldn't be that exact yield. But the lot, you know, that's why I mentioned it's based on a site-specific design. But that would, you know, it would be less than 70,
Right, and the point I'm just trying to get to is, you know, you could say, listen, we could come in there and build 70 homes or whatever, and
No architectural guidelines, no
Exactly.
amenities,
Or
you know.
the town can help you design it, or help with
Right.
the design and say, you know, we want, and that's just an.
We want this
advan-
thing to look good.
Right, well, that's an advantage to you, I think.
Right, it's, I mean, that's why, that's why
say,
we're
you
here,
know,
we're
the
trying to
town-
work together.
Yeah. town can come
Obviously.
in and make it a $250,000 and above house or whatever.
Yeah.
you know, and-
I mean, it'll be a lot nicer neighborhood than somebody just cutting in some, roads and putting lots out there with no requirements on the houses or anything. But, that's why we're here. We want something y'all want too.
Well, if we think of any more questions, and I know,
do.
okay,
If you don't mind.
no, go ahead.
One thing we deal with a lot is phasing. Can you please talk a little bit how you're going to phase this project? Well, we would like to see not a company going out there and shaving the entire lot and it's open for sediment and erosion control for a long period of time. I know it depends on the roadway and the water and sewer, but definitely we're picky about phasing the
No,
project.
we'll coordinate that closely. I mean, we work in other, municipalities and we want to be, good neighbors. And so we will work it, but you're right. I mean, if you're talking about 128 townhomes or, each are, and then maybe 116 single families, you'd probably do that in each of them in 2 phases.
So it'll be
So,
4 phases.
yeah, and can you pull it, so on the townhomes, you'd come in and do probably up to where that connection, that road hits, Clay, you can kind of, yeah. Show them kind of, show them about how the townhomes would break. In my opinion, they'd break right there at that face, stop there, go across.
Right, yeah, do this half,
You do that half of towns.
this half of maybe, or either one of the two
We-
halves.
We got to understand the sewer. The sewer's back where, sewer's back there, so you'd probably do the other half.
This half of the same.
Yeah, But that's something we'd work with your team on too, to figure out what makes the most sense.
Okay.
But- Yeah.
Another question, I'm looking at the area where you're putting all the townhomes.
Yes, sir.
and I'm looking at the contour lines. Can you tell me, what is this? 2-foot contour line, 1-foot contour
2
line?
foot, right?
And the reason why I'm asking is.
No, that's good, we understand.
I think it may be 1 footer.
1 foot?
This 1 foot, there's 665.
I'm having a hard time seeing
Clay
it
knows,
close up.
665, so this 5 foot, I can see him right now. Yeah, 1 foot contours.
All right, and,
Topo's pretty good out there.
well, what,
All in all, I've seen a lot worse.
it looks like, you showed us the picture of the townhomes. Most of them are flat, but I could see that the site is a little bit challenging here, where you're gonna end up having a lot of retaining walls in the back. And this is the upper part of the roadway, you know, those 2 rows. I mean, it looks to me like a lot of retaining walls in the back.
I agree, that area is challenged. There's some grades to work through.
Right.
I don't think we'll have retaining walls. My job is to not build retaining walls.
Retaining walls, yeah.
They cost money, so I've tried not to do that.
Right.
But I do think we'll have some, the elevation of those townhomes in that middle section between the curve and the connector road over to the single families, those will be pushed down below existing grade, and then there'll be a cut slope that comes through that 50-foot buffer, and so that's a lot of room to transition the grades out. So we'd cut that in, and then we'd replant it as required for the buffer plantings.
Okay.
That's how I envision it happening, but again, we haven't done it yet. We haven't designed it yet.
Yeah, and just another item in regard to the grade, you're showing all these trails. Also, I think it'll be challenging to make them ADA, so it looks like you might end up with another configuration for most of the areas around the condominiums or the townhomes.
I don't know about ADA, but we'll have the trails throughout, and we'll figure out how to make that work too.
Okay. But Rox, we do require trails to comply with ADA, don't we? Right.
But I don't think this would be, I don't know. We weren't considering this to be a big regional type trail. We were considering it to be more of a neighborhood type.
Yeah, I understand, but
So-
Adam, do you remember the grade on the trails? Up to 8%? Okay.
I mean,
Are you proposing on-street parking?
yes. Certainly for the townhomes, you might want to walk them through.
Yeah, so that was one of the last things we did, or that was from the last meeting we had with staff. They informed us that in the townhome section, there's a requirement to have visitor parking. And that's how we achieve that. It's 10%. We've provided a little more than 10% of the required parking and visitor parking in the form of on-street parks.
Well, you tell them up in that, if you can pull up there, it says how many parking spaces. And there's a lot. I mean,
2 spaces for each unit plus 1 visitor for every 10.
yeah.
That's right.
And then you got, you'd have probably, a lot of them would be 2-car garage to begin with, and then you'd have driveways. So, I mean, there's gonna be plenty of parking. And couple that with the street parking, be more parking you need. We do a lot of infill type stuff, inside Charlotte, where there's only you go right into the garage, there is no driveway, and there is no parking in it, you park on the street. So this is, from our perspective, you got at least 1 car, probably 2-car garages, and you've got a driveway that parks 2 cars, and then you've got all this visitor parking. So parking will not be a problem on that.
And one of the things that we're challenged with here in Indian Trail is we have a lot of illegal on-street parking due to lack of parking spaces, or we have persons with long vehicles that can't fit them in the driveways, and then they're trying to
We'll have
park.
some HOA, we'll have some homeowner association documents that we don't allow for that. they'll have to move that car. If it's, I hear what you're saying, because that can be a problem. Somebody's parking their big old, 18-wheeler in the driveway. I'm exaggerating, but we make sure that's taken care of in the homeowner association documents. And the parking that we'll be providing here will be for that, street parking, so we'll make sure that we've got, the roads are still there, but you're parking on the side. It's not like you're gonna have to, like some streets, drive around or wait like I do in Charlotte on a few things. Wait for one, I tuck behind the car parking while the other guy goes, around, and then I come, none of that's gonna be a problem here.
It's pull out.
Pull out.
So there's 36 spaces total all along the street. And there's
You can see how they're grooved back in, so you have like a cubby for them.
Thank you.
But you're right, I mean, that's a good point.
If I could add, I'm not sure if the staff shared with you that we do have on-street parking ordinance.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
Right. And a dust control ordinance too. So during construction, we're very strict about that too. Just want to bring it to your attention.
No, we'll abide. I mean, I understand.
Thank you, sir.
We understand, respect it.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
when, based on where you are now, and I know, there's a few steps to work through and before you come to us, but should the council decide to approve this at some point, when do you think you'd like to get started in terms of construction? I know you have to go through more designs and so forth, but you think it's something that is
ASAP.
2019 or?
Okay, yeah, you want real dates. So I don't know if this thing got approved, let's say it got approved in, it could be March, April maybe, April, May. Probably not that quick because you got the TIA. See, the TIA will take a while. What do you think, Clay? I mean, you'd probably,
by the end of the year for best case.
best case end of the year,
Okay.
realistic, first of next year.
All right.
It's just, engineering these days, running through, all the various entities, groups, it's a 7 month process. And this TIA that we've got to do, that's going to be a 4 month process, if not a little longer, before we can even, I guess, come to you with it. So none of them are easy.
And there's two entrances, right? That you
Oh,
have.
yes.
One on Oscar Robinson and the other on Oak Road.
Yes, sir, Marcus.
All right.
But we think it's going to be a really nice community. We'll have a little wet pond back there. We'll make that BMP a wet pond. This is, if you look towards the open space, there's a lot of open space in this area that we've got. It's a lot better than you just cut some roads in and did through half-acre lots and let somebody build whatever they wanted to on them.
Is that a floodplain to the
That
left
is,
of the
yes.
trail there?
Yeah, but you can still use it for walking trails, correct.
Well, thank you.
Well, thank you,
Anybody
David, I
questions?
appreciate
Patrick,
it.
Are you
I'm
good?
good.
Everybody's good?
I'm good.
I really appreciate y'all's time, and we look forward to working with y'all, and just, so far, we've been up here working with staff pretty closely over the last couple of months, and they've provided us some good direct feedback, and, sometimes you kind of don't know where you stand. They've always, been good to us on telling us what we need to be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. So, anyway, thank y'all for your time.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you much.
Indian Trail to Town Council meeting tonight. If everybody will rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll remain standing for a moment of silence, please. You may be seated. It's nice to see all the faces out there tonight, man. There's people here. It's good to see you. Start off with any additions or deletions? Anybody have any? None? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Everybody said it, huh?
Mr. McIntyre, in favor, all in favor? That's unanimous. Moves us to presentations. We have new business recognition. Party starters, Alicia Durst. Where's Alicia? Hey, come on up. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I don't know if I'm tall enough for that. All right, thank you. Thank you for having us. We are the owners of Party Starters. So it's a new party supply store here in Indian Trail. A little bit of background, my name is Alicia Durst. I've been in retail for 20 years with Walmart. I was the Indian Trail store manager for 6.5 years up until the end of May. And my husband, DJ, we're the co-owners of the store, and he sells cars at Scott Clark Toyota. So he's got 20 years of customer service and sales experience himself. So with that, with our backgrounds, we've always kind of had thoughts of owning our own business, and just had to wait for the right time, the right opportunity. And we found Discount Retail Store Services, and we found this opportunity to set up a party supply store, and we knew that was the right fit for us. With the knowledge of the town and the community, there's not a party supply store in Indian Trail. There's not one in Union County until we opened on December 1st. So we felt like this was a good need for the community, something that would fit well there. And just to tell you a little bit about what we sell at the store, birthday party supplies, obviously, basic birthday party, licensed goods. We have over 24 different licenses. We have plain color tableware. We sell sports, basketball, baseball. We have Panthers. We have Tar Heels. We sell gender reveal, baby shower, first birthday, bachelorette, bridal shower, retirement. So you name it, we probably have it in some kind of theme in the store. As well as that, we have some catering. We sell favors, gift wrap, candles, and then balloons are our big business. So we have, besides just latex balloons, we have over 350 different Mylar balloons. So we have a lot of variety. I've learned a lot about balloons since opening this store. We have Mylar balloons, we have bubbles, we have air walkers, we have orbs. I don't know what any of those things were, so if you don't either, that's okay. And then we do a custom balloon. It's called a floto. You can print your picture on it or a business logo. You can put words on it. So it's really nice. And we sell seasonal goods. So we're located in the Uniontown Center Plaza, which is the Food Lion Plaza on 74. We're in the strip mall with Sparks Martial Arts and the ABC store. So we have our grand opening ribbon cutting coming up on February 7th at 10 a.m. So we're going to be doing some free prizes that day, giving away some party pack and a floto balloon and things like that. So if you're able to stop by, it's going to be a good time. Okay.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you.
I just have one question for you.
Yeah.
Was it a prerequisite that you be, that Party Starters be in the same shopping center with the ABC store?
It was not, but it worked out really well for us on New Year's Eve. So we got a lot of exposure on that day. So it worked out well.
Well, it looks like it would work together.
Yeah.
And at least just about everybody knows where you are when you tell them.
It's been helping us to get exposure, that and Sparks Martial Arts, because there's so many kids that go there, a lot of parents seeing us, and then on the other side, the ABC store. So it's been good to be in that shopping plaza since, we're new and we need people to see us to find out about us. And we're on social media and everything as well, but, yeah.
Very nice. Well, the town has you a plaque here to congratulate you, and we appreciate you
Okay.
being here. Hope you're very successful, and I'd like to present it to you.
And we'll have a sign up in about a week, guys. You'll be able to see us from the street.
Next, we have the recognition of the Christmas parade winners. It's got Mr. Kramer down here, but I know him by Hayden. Where's Hayden? Right there.
I prefer Hayden over Mr. Kramer. That sounds So, perfect. Thank you all for allowing me to be here, council. Just wanted to touch base on the Christmas parade. I know that we're almost towards the end of January and Christmas is 11 months away, but just wanted to touch base in wrapping up the parade. We hosted it on Sunday, December 2nd. Thankfully, this was our largest parade, largest Christmas parade to date. We had over 70 entries, so if you were there, you saw trucks and fire trucks and Union County Sheriff's vehicles, flatbeds, and we had over 600 walkers this parade, which is pretty cool. Some special thank yous to go out, working with Chase and Malcolm from Union County Sheriff's Office, just to make sure that everything is safe. Again, a lot of preparation went into this parade, a lot more than others, just for some safety concerns. And to my knowledge, and Chase can back me up, everything went off without a hitch. To our sponsor, Farm Bureau Insurance, last year the parade, we changed the route and it went right by them. They were the first phone call that we got that said, hey, we want on board. They've already signed up for 2019 again, so we couldn't have done it without them. And then two of our favorite groups, Union West Rotary, they helped, again, on Post Office Drive, lining all of the 70 entries up, which is a tough job. And then the Indian Trail Lions Club for helping judge the parade, which is why we're here today. So we have four groups that we judge. So they are most creative, most use of red and green, most spirited, and then best youth. Again, these came from Indian Trail Lions Club. So what we'll do is we'll announce all the winners, and then if everyone can come up front, we have some trophies for you to take home. I believe 3 out of the 4 groups are here this evening. So the most creative, we had the Girl Scout Troop 3819. The most use of red and green were the Lady Panthers Homeschool Cheer Group. Most spirited was Have Life Church. And then the best youth was Sun Valley National NJROTC. So round of applause for everyone. And then I have a trophy, and then if we'd all like to gather in front of the dais, we'll take a quick picture.
Up here. You're good. Yes, I want a picture. Get up here.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Look at that.
There we go. Perfect.
No, free hugs.
Hey, you gonna be able to get them all in, or you want them, or do you want to?
All right. Remember where we put it.
You gotta keep smiling during the
I know.
Gotcha.
Okay, if everyone's gonna look right into this camera, I'll try to give everyone one big shot.
I haven't filed yet to run.
There we go, I think I got everyone ready, 1, 2, 3. Take a couple more, just to make sure. Perfect, awesome, thank you.
Perfect, guys. And then if you all want to join me downstairs, we'll take another individual group picture on the stairs. So if you want to join me right down there. Again, thank you, council, for allowing this honor.
Hey, just, I'd like to tell everybody that came, thank you for all you do. Thank you for being in the parade, making the parade, and making our town a better town. Thank you. Love your smiling faces. Keep them smiling. It's funny. They couldn't get her up here and didn't want to leave.
Should have bought him cookies or
You
something.
you sure about that?
Missed it.
I know. You should have done the presentation last time. Really? Yeah. Right, Shirley? You can, Shirley, you can come sit next to me. The chair's empty, and there's a monitor right there that you can see.
Okay.
She doesn't want to move.
That brings us up to public comments. Thank you for your interest in participating in the public comments portion of today's regular meeting of the Indian Trail Town Council. Please be aware that these Meetings are recorded and can be heard by anyone through the internet. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker. You may not give your 3 minutes to another speaker to increase that person's allotted time. Comments are to be directed to the entire council as a whole and not individuals. Citizens will be expected to be civil in their language and presentation and act within reasonable standards of courtesy. We ask the audience as well as the speakers to maintain order and decorum in your conduct throughout the public comment period. That being said, you may engage and may not engage in slander, name calling, personal attacks, or threatening or otherwise aggressive speech or behavior that I or council reasonably believe will immediately result in disruption of the meeting. Finally, we ask that you a simple favor. If you have a grievance, concern, or complaint relating to specific town employee, we respectfully request that prior to airing that grievance here during public comments, you first contact the town manager, the town attorney, or one of the council with your concerns. We respect your right to be heard and ask you to respect our town employees' right to a fair hearing on your grievances. With that being said, you have 3 minutes, and the first person up is Dana. Come on up.
Hello, I'm Dana Antonuccio. I am a resident in the Annandale subdivision. I am here seeking help from the town of Indian Trail with an issue between Annandale and Bonterra. They are building I believe it's Phase 4, and Phase 4 goes directly behind my house. And I actually have an aerial photo, if this kind of helps, you can see, I'll just put it here for anyone that wants to look at it. So with this new construction, there is a lot of noise pollution. It's very loud. And it's loud, and it's, starting very early in the morning and going to the evenings. And besides the noise pollution, we now have no privacy, which was one of the big draws of all the residents that live along that lane, because we had the private lots. So we've also lost our privacy with this new construction. 11 years ago, wasn't going to have any construction there. I know things change. Nothing can be written in stone. Part of the appeal when we bought the house. So what I am requesting is that Taylor Morrison, the builders, plant a green privacy noise barrier, meaning like you see along expressways, the giant green bushes, like arborvitaes, the super fast growing ones, so that will help with the noise pollution. It will help with our property values. We feel that where they're building, and you can see it in the aerial photo, so my house is here, and then there's a huge dip and up, and this is all protected wetland. And then you get to the Bonterra side, and there's a street, but on this side of the street, they can't put any houses there because there's not enough space, and it goes right into the protected wetlands. So we're just asking along, so that's going to be their common area. It's right in their plans. We're asking along that whole strip there at the edge that this is where they plant these bushes. And we feel that that's fair and reasonable for the residents like myself in Annandale, as well as the future residents that are going to be moving in there in the Bonterra. So I have reached out to Taylor Morrison. I've left messages. I'm kind of up at the corporate office now, leaving messages for people out there. And I've spoken with their HOA. The HOA cannot help me with any of that. And I've spoken with several people who said that the town, might be able to assist us in getting this. And it's not a very long strip, or, this is not a high dollar amount.
It's okay. That's all right. Your time's up. You want to say one last word or anything like?
It would be wonderful if we could get some help in getting them to plant these for us.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.
Next, we have, is it
Norca.
Norca?
Hello, my name is Norca Villacres, and I'm Dana's neighbor, actually. I live next door. And we bought the property there in 2007, the same reason. We used to have privacy, long, big trees and all that, and at this point is we are concerned as a neighbors, what is going to happen with the property values. And all the time there is a lot of noise, and we are concerned because we can see right now the construction right there from my backyard, I assume the same from Dana's, and all the neighbors who live in that area. And we just want that, the builders, if they can do something about it, planting those big trees in that way it will help us to keep the privacy and avoid the noise. It's extremely noisy. Okay?
Thank you. Michael Falconberry?
Good evening, Michael Falconberry, 519 Pickett Circle. Recently, we got an IT factor delivered to our home back in December, and what really concerns me about it is you're promoting projects that have yet to go through the due process, either planning board or by the council, for discussion or a vote. It's good to promote businesses in Indian Trail. That's great for economic development, but you're using a newsletter to promote something that has yet to happen. He needs to go through the proper proceedings. Also, there seems to be a dilemma as to how much money we saved with this waste management contract. It was reported in the news it was $1 million savings. Now, last council meeting, it was said $114,000. I just want the truth, okay? That's all I'm looking for. I want the truth, because it was also used in a candidate's campaign flyer, $1 million savings. If it was $114,000, let's put it out there as such. Stop trying to twist it and spin it to whatever you think and trying to character assassinate people who confront you with such information. Also, the Miracle League could have been something wonderful this town. I was involved in it from the very beginning. Because of personalities and egos, it's falling apart. I spoke about this back in January of last year in public comments. Something needs to be done. I don't know what. If we have to approach somebody else as a nonprofit to make this thing happen, let's do it. I'm so angry right now because I knew what was going to happen based on what was going on behind closed doors with the former town manager and the dealings that was made without the full board having full knowledge of what was going on. I have the emails to back all that up if you have any questions concerning that. Also, a former council member spoke during December 2018 public comments about changing his PRs twice. I had no knowledge of that. I looked at my government emails, didn't see any record of it. However, I went through my other stack of documents I do have, and yes, he did make a request twice. It is true for what he did say. So if there is any outstanding PRs with what he said, it's probably best to process them before you get in serious trouble. Also, I want to let you know, former planning board member and public safety committee member Art Spur is in bad health. Okay, I met with him in the hospital several days ago. He's not expecting to have much longer to live. Okay, it's sad to watch him make his own memorial services while he's in his hospital room. Okay, and I just want you to know, please reach out to him. He needs some friends right now. He needs reassurance that God is there, and there is a reason for everything that happens. Thank you.
Thank you. Is no one else on the list? Does council have anything to comment? Any comments?
Yes, actually, I do.
Sure.
For the record, both Mrs. Antonucci and Mrs. Villacres actually are my neighbors. Dana is my next door neighbor. Miss Villacres lives next door to Dana. So the issues that they're talking about, it also affects me. In terms of the noise in the morning, it's very early. So that's something that Patrick, I'll probably reach out to the town about to look into. Second thing is regarding the dust ordinance. The last time we were affected by this was over the summer, I think. And at that time, we did not have the ordinance on the books yet. But the thing is, we sometimes have to do a lot of cleaning in terms of washing down. I have a screened-in porch, so I have to do a lot of washing down of the porch because of the dust back there. So that's something that we'll do. But Dana and Knock, I want to thank you for coming in and talking to the council, and hopefully with planning and council, we'll see what else we can do. But thank you.
And one comment, I saw Rox come over and speak with you, so he's the man to really get things started. So, Daniel, when you come in here, we're gonna put you on the right person to help you guys. So, real quick, I just wanted to comment on what Mr. Falconberry had to say about the $1 million and twisting, and you know, it's kind of odd. A lot of times when people talk about twisting, those are the ones that are twisting the most. But you know, I think it has been said. I think I've said it that the new garbage company saved us $1 million, or we were saving $1 million, and and I think everybody up here knows what I'm talking about. I think anybody that was familiar with the contract knows what I'm talking about. It's the people who don't know that try to twist things around a little bit. When they first came out and we put up a bid, we had two bids left, and the new garbage contract was almost $1 million less than the old contract. Therefore, to me, that's saving us $1 million over what we had previously. And I think it was close to $900,000 difference in that. And I think a lot of people sitting in this room knew as we were going through that process, we did have two council members who wanted just to pass or had requested in a meeting to just go ahead and give the old garbage company the old contract at the same price. I think what was discussed, and that's what they wanted to do. Had we not had the votes to change that, or not even 100% sure that we could even do it that way, but that's what they requested. But we requested to go ahead and put it on, and to get all the facts straight in that particular thing. The town rebid it. The town rebidded the contract, and the existing company came down hundreds of thousands of dollars to match, or to, I don't know if they did it to match, but to come close to Company B's contract. So when I say that the new garbage company has saved us $1 million, they saved us almost $1 million on what we were previously paying. Now, not only did they save us almost $1 million off of what we previously paid, they saved us an additional $100,000 off of what we were paying the other garbage company before in the first, I don't know how many months it was.
114,000 within 12 months.
Within 12 months. So, I mean, I think it was a win-win situation for the town. So if someone, you hear that the $1 million, that's the $1 million. That's the $1 million that I'm talking about when I say that the new garbage company saved us $1 million. Plus, they saved, or close to $1 million, plus $114,000. And not only that, they did that with more customers. So, needless to say, the council's not trying to twist anything. I've never tried to twist any of those words. It seems that somehow that other people try to twist things. That's the facts behind it. So anyway, I wanted to put that out there. So anybody else have any comments? Good deal. All right, let's move on. Let's move to the law enforcement update. Captain Chase Coble.
I'm going to spend a minute with you. Just kidding. Probably about 15. So I passed out before the meeting a couple of pages that I printed out to add to what I had given you on the last one. I told you I'd be giving you your 2018 summary in segments. And so my hopes in that is that you can take some time in between each meeting to go back and kind of look through some of the charts and some of the numbers so you get a good idea and a good picture of where we're at. But I did just put together a dashboard with some of the charts and stuff, and then a couple of things just wanted to kind of go over the highlights for 2018. So starting with the average response time, and that's one thing that pretty much everybody tracks, just, what's the average on us getting some service out to our citizens. And in 2018, across the entire town, we averaged at 9 minutes and 8 seconds. Now, that doesn't mean 9 minutes and 8 seconds is what it's going to take me to get from here over to the firehouse subs if they were to have a robbery-type incident, or get to your house if you have a break and enter in progress. But obviously, if you have a mailbox that was damaged 2 weeks ago, it may take me 19 minutes to get my way through traffic, depending on where I'm going across town. But on the average, across the board for everything, we're at 9 minutes and 8 seconds. So historically, you can see back 2015, we were at 11 minutes, 11 seconds. 16 was 10 minutes and 1 second. 17, 9 minutes and 18 seconds. So we've been ticking that down a little bit while we've been maintaining pretty much the same level of calls for service. So flipping over to self-initiated activities, in 2018, there was 28,981 self-initiated activities by the deputies up here in Indian Trail during the year. And those examples of those would be things like traffic stops, warrant services, preventative patrols, business checks, residential checks, anything to where I'm riding in the vehicle and I decide, hey, I'm going to go do this, versus somebody picking up the phone and calling in on the 911 system and getting a call for service. So on the back page, calls for service, 12,551 in 2018. In comparison, looking back from last year, 12,475, 12,227 the year prior, 12,082 the year prior to that, and then kind of ticks back down. Tracked it all the way back to 2009, just to give you a wide range picture there. 8,523 calls for service in 2009. So we've kind of plateaued off, which is what I like to see, which is where I was hoping we were going to be at right now in this economy and in this town where we're at. I do anticipate in the future that we'll probably see that starting to go back up a little bit, which is why we did some maintenance stuff this past year by doing our sergeants and reclassifying a couple of positions to get a couple of things balanced back out, so that whenever we do start seeing a spike and do start seeing the increased growth and workload, then we're moving upward evenly across the board for our guys here. So going back onto the first page, kind of broke things out north and south side so you can kind of see just a sampling. This is not all of it, but just a sampling of some of the activities going on in Indian Trail from the north side to the south side in comparison. So traffic stops, 2,511 traffic stops done on the north side of town, 1,394 done on the south side of town. Disturbances, 268 on the north side. South side had 284. Well-being checks, that's where you call in and say, hey, I haven't heard from David in 3 days. His garage door's open, his car's there, but I haven't heard from him. We go over, knock on the door, go in the back, find him if he's inside, get him medical attention, hopefully, and find out that he's just watching TV and don't want to talk on the phone. There's a variety of reasons why people don't want to answer the phone or answer the door, but we get a lot of well-being checks around, especially since we have a lot of people that live here that moved here from somewhere else and their family's in another state. So we're their only lifeline to call us, and say, hey, I can't get in touch with my family member. So the escort request, noise complaints, suspicious persons, we had 308 on the north side and 218 on the south side. So if you really want to give a category classification, the north side of town is a little bit more suspicious than the south side of town is. So for those of you that live on the north side, but 425 suspicious vehicle calls up there in the north side, 406 on the south side, all throughout the year. And a lot of this, keep in mind, is our boundary line is the railroad. So the north side encompasses your business district in the center along the 74 corridor, which is obviously going to be heavily populated area where people come to from all over town. So you do get a good blend right there that accounts to and adds into the north side. If you really look at the residences, I don't know, Rox may be able to help me if he's here, but I think you might even have more residents, more homes on the south side than you do on the north side, but I'd really have to go back in there and count them up. But we do see generally our workload because of that business corridor. It's a little bit more on the north side. So the animal calls, animal complaints, bites, nuisance animals, I took all of that. If I'd put all these categories out there, it's about 5 pages in really small font. I really just tried to lump them all together for you. So I added up anything to do with an animal. I put it in that. So you had 349 animal complaints, bites, nuisances on the north side compared to 370 on the south side. Goes on down through be on the lookout. That's where we get a call. Somebody calls in and says, hey, I'm on 74. There's a car weaving all over the road in front of me. There may be an impaired driver. Or I'm on Old Monroe Road, stopped at a stoplight, and I see this person in front of me has got a 2-year-old kid jumping up and down in the back seat, not restrained. Or I'm sitting beside a guy at the stoplight and I smell marijuana and there's smoke coming out of his windows. A variety of reasons why people call in, but we do appreciate that because that alerts us where we can get into a position to intercept that vehicle. And those things come out to be anything from just somebody that was sleepy, that we need to get them off the road or get them woke up a little bit, just talking to them for a few minutes, to impaired drivers who could take a life out here on the road that we're able to get off. So we had 260 be on the lookout calls that came in on the north side, 146 on the south side. The attempt to locate, I was explaining to Jerry earlier before the meeting, that's where we get a call request from Charlotte, Pineville, Raleigh PD, somewhere else that says, hey, we need to make contact with this person, Chase Coble at 123 ABC Street. We send the car out to try to make contact with them and put those folks together, get a good telephone number for them, give them a good telephone number for whoever needs to talk to them from the other agency. It could be notifying them that the family member was in an automobile accident. It could be telling them, you know, hey, we found your car abandoned on the side of the road and it's not been reported stolen. What's up with it? Are you going to get it towed before we tow it? Variety of reasons why we do attempt to locate across town. 260 of them, 78 of them on the north side, 75 on the south side. 75 doesn't sound like a lot, but some of those can turn into a 2 or 3 hour ordeal when you're trying to locate somebody. And then when you do locate them, there's liable to be a whole lot more to it to where we need to bring them in, do an interview for them for the other agency and do that interview with one of our investigators or one of our detectives and take and then turn and send all that information back up there to do the interview down here to save them a trip. Mental disorder investigation, missing persons, call by phone, variety of reasons why calls call by phones, but we get a lot of those. And then alarm calls. So 1,169 alarms on the north side, 749 on the south side. So the town is continuing, and you kind of led the way with Union County with being a municipality that has an alarm ordinance, which is a good thing because I think if you didn't have your alarm ordinance, those numbers would probably be doubled. So everybody that has an alarm in Indian Trail is required to come down and register that alarm with the town. And then by doing that, then all their information's in the system, contact information and things like that. If an alarm goes off at a house that does not have a registration to it, then that will show up on the alarm report, which is cross-referenced downstairs by the girls working in the front. And so every month we provide them with an alarm report that's got the detailed information on there. If they plug it in the system and, hey, this address here, 123 ABC Street, came up as an alarm activation, but there's not a registration here, they'll send them out a thing to remind them, hey, we have an alarm ordinance, come out here and do that. And what the ordinance in general says is that if you have 3 alarms in a year that are false, then you're going to have to start paying a penalty or a fine for that. We had one neighborhood HOA the year that we enacted the alarm ordinance that had over 78 in the first 8 months at their clubhouse because everybody in the neighborhood used it for birthday parties for kids and, whatever else. And so nobody ever bothered to give them that code. So we were out there, 70-something times in the first few months or first 8 months of the year just in that one particular area. So as soon as you enacted this, they got to be a whole lot more rigorous about giving out that alarm code to anybody and changing it whenever they had rented out the facility. So, the same way goes for businesses that have folks that clean up at nighttime and they get done and then the alarm goes off and we're out there waiting for an hour or two, tying up a deputy sometimes, waiting on a key holder to get there, especially if there's something that looks odd, and we really need to have somebody come out. So by having that ordinance, you free us up to go out and do a lot of more proactive stuff in town. So I commend the town on having that ordinance and maintaining it and keeping up with it. So one thing I do want to talk about that's current right now is, and Todd's going to be familiar with this whenever I mention this, but Unionville Indian Trail Road at 74. So if anybody has been through there coming westbound that is normally accustomed to turning left and going on the Unionville Indian Trail, like if you were going toward the Walmart or where the Walmart through Yonts Road or going toward Lake Park, you'll notice that Sealand Construction about 2 weeks ago went through there and put up about 755,000 orange barrels to block those 2 lanes off. And I counted them, and to block those 2 lanes off in conjunction with their Super Street project that they're doing. So I'm the biggest advocate to always say that, hey, a little bit of surgery sometimes, it's painful, but then you'll get through it. So we're in a lot of pain with this, and to the point to where we're getting a lot of phone calls about it. I'm sure town engineering's gotten some phone calls about it. We're pushing everybody to DOT on this one and blaming it on them, and the Sealand. But at this point, they've come out and put some more message boards out. Our guys were out there today. Chad Barbie just sent me a message, said he had 8 before the meeting started, and that was from the time I left. So I sat out there for a little while today watching and spotting for the guys and calling in so they could do some traffic stops. We really tried to do a lot of warnings more than writing tickets, but it's getting to the point now to where, you know what, I'll be the bad guy, but I'd rather the news be reporting that I'm writing a bunch of tickets there and Facebook and everybody else say I got a ticket there. Unfortunately, that's going to be the only way we get some compliance, because we've had crashes already out there where people are stopping in the lane of travel on 74, waiting to try to cross over the westbound or the westbound traffic. And if you're eastbound, you know, you just stop right there and everybody coming in behind you, you know, slamming on brakes and plowing on the horn and everything else. So we've had some that's pulled out already. Last week we had 2 crashes where people pulled out. T-bone intersection crash, which is your most severe. That's where you get, you know, head trauma, back pain. You get high severity on the crash rate on that. So, you know, you got another car coming at you at 45, 50, 55 miles an hour, and they're not anticipating that anybody's coming because they've got the green light, and then somebody darts out in front of them. So if it means that we've got to be a bad guy for a couple of weeks, then we'll be a bad guy. But hopefully something will get going with that where they can get something else out there. My recommendation was just go ahead and shut it down, but I don't think they have the turnaround in there. So if you guys get any phone calls, emails, et cetera about it, I'd tell them go somewhere else because we're writing tickets over there. But we're seriously just wanting as many people as we can to avoid that area just because of congestion and all the barrels. And I don't even remember how many is out there now. There's a bunch. But if you do get some phone calls about it, certainly DOT, not Chase. Yes, sir.
Is there a sign right there? Because the reason I asked that is I was sitting at the light with my boys on Friday, and we saw an older person kind of come through, and I found it strange kind of where she was. She was not in the turn area because that's blocked off, but she came to the middle of the intersection, and that right there was dangerous because, you know, it was a big puddle of water there. But is there a sign right there if you're heading east? Is there a sign right there where with the $750,000, 50,000 barrels?
So yes, there are message boards out there, the big lighted display message boards. Those got brought in last week by the contractor so that they could get some messages up there, giving people notice. So I think there's 3 at this point now. There may be 4 out there. I would love to have 10, but at this point, as you're coming by the where the KFC is and Advanced Auto and the Crystal Shop, as you start to come down through there, you've got some signage that you can see from a distance back starting to tell you no left turn, no left turn. Ironically, Chad Barbie, which is one of our traffic deputies up here, Chad tells me this afternoon, said, Captain, everybody that I've stopped, and he has stopped since the middle of last week, people out there, you know, and been trying to deal with it. He says, everybody that I've stopped tells me, well, my GPS told me to turn there. Because obviously the GPS is not understanding of the construction. I think Chad tells them he's just glad that those orange barrels aren't kids and quit looking at the GPS and pay attention to what's around you. But there are huge signs out there that say no left turn, $252 fine, no left turn, so they're constantly flashing. So if we put any signs in the intersection, then we're getting into a sight distance issue to where you can't see by them. So it's kind of a catch-22.
Yeah.
There again, my easy answer is just go ahead and barricade it all off and get in there and do the work. You know, I'd rather just jump on it as quickly as possible and do the work. But at this point, like I say, if anybody contacts you guys, I didn't want you to be caught off guard with it. We're aware of it. Todd's aware of it, been in contact with them. So, you know, we'll just have to suffer through it for right now, but just kind of cross our fingers that we don't have a bad collision out there. So,
All right, thanks.
thank you, guys.
Another question,
Yes,
just real
sir.
quick. Do you find that most of those people do not know? Or do
No
not
idea.
read the sign, or do they know and are just breaking the law? What
Most of them are honestly just confused by the 7 billion barrels out there. But honestly, that's the way they always go. That's the way they go home.
Even though with all those signs
That's-
out there, they still.
Yep. So, you know, eventually what'll happen is if you're going that area, you're going, let's say toward Walmart or Yance or over to the pizza place or Little Caesars or something, then you would go straight through that intersection then and get into a turn lane, make a U-turn and come back to you and then turn and go up there. And it sounds crazy, but you know, the other lights that are cycling now we're seeing an improvement there, a vast improvement from crossing over the highway because we drive it every day. So if there's a testament to 24 hours a day, how quickly you can get around town, our guys are the testament to it. I mean, we can tell you the quickest way to get from point A to point B in town. If that means going through somebody's backyard because we have to do it every day. But our guys are praising it now, especially now that they've got another coat of asphalt on it. But, eventually you are going to have to go all the way through it. But for right now, with it not being, not having the island or anything else, they just don't know. Their mind's on something else, probably fixing dinner, kids, homework, Facebook, putting makeup on, drinking coffee, whatever, but they just don't see all the signs and barrels. And I think we could put 10 more signs out there and it wouldn't change where we're at, so. It's scary. Just spread the word for us.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you, guys.
And not for Chase, but just something to add, it certainly doesn't help DOT's building of the super street on Monroe Road, when I know a lot of what they've got out there now is it's not temporary, but it's not completed yet. So there's a lot of problems with it, and there's a lot of complaints, and a lot of people use that road as an example of what's going to happen at Monroe Road or what's happening at Monroe Road. And I can just say that DOT's not doing themselves any favors by the way they're handling, I think, and I don't know a lot about, DOT, but they're not handling that so great, because even the other turnaround down near QT down there's been nothing but complaints and problems. And anyway, I wish they'd go ahead and get that all straightened out and moved on. And I know you do too, Chase, because you guys have had a lot of problems with it. So anyway, that moves on to the consent agenda. I need a motion on the consent agenda.
So moved.
To approve it? You approve, okay. All in favor? It's unanimous. We don't have any public hearings tonight. Brings us down to old business. Committee meeting liaison update with Mr. Head and Mr. Morris. Mr. Head, why don't you start us off?
Well, actually, our reliable growth meeting is tomorrow night.
Okay.
So I'll be able to talk more about it. But I think we're going to have, we've invited Union County commissioners to come. We have additional people coming from other municipalities, so we're moving right along. We'll have some more updates.
That's all good
next
stuff too. I really appreciate you taking your time, and I think the town should too. I mean, you guys are doing some good stuff to get together and try to help each other. Mr. Morris?
Sure. Thank you. Attended 2 meetings. 2 that I'll report on this month is the ABC board. That was on 1/3. I think I might have mentioned this at the last meeting. I'm not sure, but someone had hacked the distiller in Texas and had gotten a lot of accounts of the ABC boards in North Carolina. So they're working through that. We are discussing having a joint board meeting where we can sit down and start looking at some goals and share those with each other. And hopefully I'll be at that meeting, and that'll be on the 31st. Spoke with some of the ABC board representatives regarding possibly linking the ABC board to the Town of Indian Trail website to get a little more traffic, a little more exposure, because with that exposure, just brings more revenue to the town. So any way I think that the town or the council can help them would be much appreciated. Just a reminder, we do have 1 board member. Mr. Latz's term should be expiring at the end of March, so we'll need to start putting that on the burner, considering if we want to bring him back or look for someone else, and of course what he wants to do. And again, Asheville and Mecklenburg County are gearing up for medical and recreational cannabis. They are investing in buildings for storage and warehousing. So I do know that Kelly Alexander, House of Representatives for, I believe it's northern Mecklenburg County, is actually in Raleigh working on some bipartisan support to push that forward. And that's it for ABC. At the CRTPO meeting, received some real bad news. Looks like our Monroe Road has been pushed back yet again for another year. We received what they call the a draft, draft STIP for 2029, and some projects fell out of it. Fortunately, none of ours. But the major ones that there were some notes regarding was the Old Monroe Road widening, and that is today. This is the draft. The final report will be out, I believe, in like 2 or 3 weeks. Todd may correct me on that. And once that's out, there will be public comment, and that'll happen in the spring. But the ones that directly impact us, Monroe Road, they're saying that the construction is delayed another year. And of course, each year they review the funding and see what happens then. The reason for a lot of these that are pushed out is the availability of money. Inflation has taken place with steel and asphalt and construction materials, so that's made some of these estimates go a bit higher than was previously planned. There is, let's see, Unionville Indian Trail Road, Unionville Indian Trail Road and Sardis Roundabout. We're aware of that one. That one's been delayed till 19, so no big deal there. That's just the construction. Wesley Chapel Stouts to Airport Road. And I'll just read it off the comments. Based on the results of the P 5.0, the new project added with the right-of-way in fiscal year 27 and construction in 29. So that's a good thing. Then we have the Lawyers Road, which will impact us because I know a lot of our residents sit on Secret Shortcut, Idlewild. Anyways, there's a widening that's taking place from 485, and it'll go from 485 to State Road 1524, which is Stevens Mill. And then when it crosses there, it turns into Idlewild. That project has been added, and they will have a right-of-way in fiscal year 28 with construction after 29. So that's 10, 12, 15 years out over on that thoroughfare. Those are not good. So, so we need to really keep these in mind as we're looking at these projects, especially on these thoroughfares. My concern is what's to stop the state from coming back next year and pushing out Monroe Road or any of these projects. So, that's pretty much the highlights or / lowlights of the CRTPO meeting. That concludes my report.
Thank you. I appreciate you giving us that report. Appreciate you going to all the meetings and getting all this, just for public sake. And I know we've talked to DOT numerous times, expressed our dislike for Monroe Road and Super Street. Is there any suggestions that you might give the residents to put, okay, we're going to lose another year, and you say it's because of funding.
Correct.
Town put up $10 million or had a bond for $10 million to speed that up. That was the reason it was to get the $10 million so we could get it done quicker. Do you have any recommendations who do we complain to?
There's a gentleman that's coming to the next CRTPO meeting from DOT, because that was the question I asked them. Who can answer these questions for us? So anyways, he should be there at the next meeting, which will be on the second Wednesday. They moved it. I believe it's the 13th.
Yes.
And so I plan on pinning him down and asking him these questions. And part of the problem is that when the voters voted on the bond referendum, that happened before they started the change in prioritization on these roads. But personally, it doesn't, if an entity was to come to me and say, I want you to put up some money for something, well, by the way, it ain't gonna happen now, it's gonna happen later, I'm less likely to put that money up. And because I would like to believe that if I do put that money up, that I get to go to the front of the line, whether I'm going into the theater or whether I'm purchasing something. Again, the magic question is, What if we don't put that money up? What's the ramifications of that? No one wants to say at this point. So that's the million-dollar question. Who is the right person to talk to get a straight answer?
Well, that's the frustration part of it, is when you think you've put money up to expedite something, so to get it done quicker, and all you see is you get kicked back to the back of the bus, you get kicked back, is not, it's really not a good situation, and that's a great question, and it's a great way to say, listen, I'd be curious, and does anybody know if, in the room, do you know, what was when we first put the $10 million bond up, what was the date? Was it not, we should have already started the road, or started working on it. Does anybody know that? I thought it was like 2019. I thought maybe it was now, or just curious if anybody knew that.
The 7 years just expired, David. This year, 2018, 7-year bond, and we got a 3-year extension to 2021.
So it was right around now they were supposed to start.
7-year extension, 7-year bond expired in November of 18.
And now we're talking 2000 and what? 20?
22,
No.
23,
24,
23?
2024.
It's getting
More
pretty
than 6 years.
ridiculous, really.
5 years.
It just gets a little more bizarre all the time.
I do have a question. Jim, seeing that we've just had the 3-year extension, it was a 7-year initially, and we have a 3-year extension. What if this thing doesn't get built in 3 years? What are our options then?
Another
I mean,
extension?
in terms of
No,
the
no
bond.
further extensions. We either take it down or it goes away.
All right. So I think that probably end up having solved itself then, based on kind of how DOT is proceeding.
Well, if they keep pushing it back, then they're gonna lose it anyway. I mean, unless they spend the money or have a way to spend it. So,
Mr. Cohen, just a reminder that, to council, that Stallings Council would like to meet with our council in the presence of a DOT representative. This is the right time to go ahead and bring that up.
thank you. Thank you, Jerry. I appreciate your hard work and following up on all that. So, it's great to have you too. Let's, move on to the fire tax. This is, funding option. Mr. Sadik, Mr. Wanowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Jim, myself, and Karen, we've been working very closely with Chief of Blythe in order to come before council and kind of give you sort of a recommendation on a regional plan for the west side of Union County. Last couple of days, I've been communicating with Chief of Blythe, and what he would like to do tonight is to share a documents that we work together on. Kind of, this document, it will only describe his proposed plan for right now, just for Hemby Bridge Fire Station, and then if council decide soon that this is the ideal option, at that time, Chief of Blythe will reach out to the other 2 fire stations that serve in the town of Indian Trail. Just a reminder that the Hemby Bridge is a tax-funded, Stallings is a tax-funded, the only one that's a fee-funded model, which is Baker's. So if you think about the regional district and a regional one fire department, we got to keep in mind that one of them is a fee funded. But today, John is going to share with us his current plan versus the proposed plan, just only for Hemby Bridge.
Good evening. So you have the paperwork in front of you there, and the top paragraph talks about the disadvantages to the current plan, and that's the current response plans and all of those things. So basically, you see exactly what Patrick was just saying about fee and tax. Levels of service are different. You got places and parts of town that one side of the street's paying a $100 fee, the other side of the street's paying $60 in tax. The side that's paying $100 is getting 2 part-time firefighters. The side that's paying tax is getting 6 part-time firefighters. So you got a large disparity in the level of service along with the funding models. So this all really started when the county started trying to push this funding mechanism in their system or whatever system they were going to go to. So as y'all are well aware, they're currently requesting y'all to send them a resolution on which one of these models you want. Well, currently you have 2 fire departments that are self-funded on the tax district, and you have the fee district. So by sending in the self-funded, if you responded that you wanted it to be self-funded, at some point in the future, they'd have to come back with Bakers to get a resolution from the council to allow them to create a service district down there to make that a tax district under the state law. So that's one part of the funding. The second part that I'm going to talk about is the budget. It's a budget time. We're working through our budget right now. I've stood at this podium several occasions and told y'all we can't continue to do what we're doing. So we're to that point now. So Hemby Bridge Fire Department in this year's proposed budget, I'm going to propose to hire full-time firefighters. I have the breakdown of those numbers right there on the sheet for you. It is going to be a tax increase. So right now, I think with the combined tax from Union County and what our district tax is, it's about 5.9. It's going to go to 6.8. That's what the proposed is, 6.8. That'll get 4 full-time firefighters every day, 365 days. And then we'll also have some part-time staffing to cover short shifts or sick and vacation, so to speak. So the way that breaks down, if you take a look at it, and I give you the breakdown on that sheet that you have of how that's going to work out. So if you take a $200,000 house, basically I'm asking for $18 more a year for fire protection. So it's $136 a year for fire protection. And that gets us 4 full-time guys with guaranteed coverage there. So that's where we're going. That's the proposed budget that I'm presenting to Union County. At some point, I still believe that the advantage and the best model for Indian Trail, Stallings, and Lake Park is to have a regional system on this end of the county. I still believe that that's the best plan, but we can't continue to not move this ball forward. So that's why we're pushing ahead and trying to figure out this full-time thing. So that's where we're going with that. That's not any full-time. The fire chief's not going to be a full-time position. Any of those things, that's going to be people riding a fire truck. So, and that's what we're doing moving forward. If you look at the cost, part-time versus full-time, to increase the part-time staffing would cost more than to hire these 4 full-time people, just simply based on the number of people that I have to fill those slots. And I know last meeting I wasn't able to be here, but I know Patrick told y'all I'm available to meet with y'all individually, 2 at a time, however you want to do it, so we can have an open discussion about this. I'd be happy to do that. I do believe, again, moving forward, the best plan is the regional system. And I will tell you that the other municipalities have already sent their paperwork in, and they're supporting the self-funded option. I know that Lake Park and I know that Stallings have both sent theirs in. So I know that that's done. I did talk to Michael James, and he said that the majority of the municipalities that have responded has been with the self-funded option. So, so that's kind of where that's at. Any questions about these numbers or any of that?
I do. You show in your capital plan budget that you need a new station with the apparatus to cover it. Well, when I look at your current capital plan budget, it shows only $388,000.
That would go to debt service as a building payment.
How much would the cost of the fire?
$2.5 million.
$2.5 million? That
12
includes the
years.
construction, the land, and all the equipment in it?
We already own the land. We already got the equipment to go in it. So that's the building $2.5 million.
Where is that proposed, sorry?
We have two sites that we have to pick from. So one is Rocky River, which the town actually owns that property, Southgate subdivision, Rocky River and or Poplar Road. And the other is on Faith Church across from Fred Kirby Park.
Okay, you know where that is.
Excuse me. So with the fire tax,
Mhm.
and you propose putting a fire department out there on the Poplin, the county is presently trying to put in a lot of townhomes and developments out there.
Poplar Road,
Yes, sir?
Indian Trail has a project there at the corner, Southgate.
Yes, sir?
The property's in Indian Trail.
Right. But would the Stallings Fire Department service all of the Union County properties?
Stallings, where at?
I'm sorry, Hemby Bridge, sorry.
I'm not sure where they're building
All
townhomes
right,
at.
well, you want to put a fire department out on Poplin Road?
Or Rocky River, just past Poplar.
Okay, in the close proximity.
Uh-huh.
Will you then be servicing the county, properties in the county?
Currently, we don't cross Rocky River Road. So if it's beyond Rocky River, no. I'm not sure, I'm not familiar with where they're building anything over there.
So.
Where are they building townhomes
Explain
at
to
on
me,
Poplar
That's what
Road?
he's looking for, yeah.
Well, we're right off of Poplin and the bypass. There is some multifamily units,
Yes.
townhomes and apartments.
Okay,
being
so I know where you're
proposed.
at now. You're up on this side of Bonterra.
Yes.
O'Kane,
So my
Charles
que-
O'Kane.
What was that?
Charles O'Kane's property.
I'm not sure who owns that, but my question is if Indian Trail taxpayers are building the fire department,
Mhm.
are Indian Trail taxpayers paying for full-time fire department persons and the fire department to service Union County residents?
Well, let me stop you right there. We don't have Indian Trail taxpayers. We have taxpayers that live inside of our fire district. So if you live inside the fire district, you pay the fire tax. It's not just Indian Trail.
Will that burden be shared with county residents?
Every citizen that lives inside of our fire district pays the same amount.
And that fire district, will it be outside of the town proper?
Of course. If that Charles O'Kane property is in Union County proper and we respond to it, then they pay 6.8 cents. Yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
But yes, we respond to the pockets that are in Union County that aren't in a municipal limit. And, so they're in our fire district or in our tax district, so they still pay the same amount everybody else does. So we have taxpayers who live in Indian Trail, Stallings, Lake Park, Hemby Bridge, Town of Fairview. All of those pay taxes to Hemby Bridge Fire Department for our service.
And presently Baker's is the only fee
That's
model.
correct. That's correct.
And that's,
And then the town has Wesley Chapel, who has a little piece of it, and they're a tax. And I think that's it in the town of Indian Trail. Unionville may have a little piece over by Porter Ridge, couple of parcels.
how did you arrive at 4 full-time fire department personnel?
Well, in our business, that's what rides one company is 4 people. So under the state of North Carolina, if you read in the basic level of service, what you have to meet to be a fire department in North Carolina is called 9E. If you don't have 4 people to respond with an engine company to a structural alarm, then you didn't respond. So 4 would be the minimum, so to speak. The basic.
You mentioned something about bakers that they're on a fee, but you would have to get them to a tax. And you said that it's something that they would have to pass a resolution. Can you expand on that a little bit? If the council here were to decide that we would go to a tax, and then how do we get bakers to be on the same page so that you have?
So I think, and she might have a different take on this, but I'm no lawyer by no means. But under General Statute 153 is what that's established under. The county commission can establish a service district outside the municipal limits. If that service district's to be established inside a municipal limit, it requires the municipal board to pass a resolution to support the county collecting a tax inside the municipal limits. So if Bakers wanted to go to a service district tax, then they would be required to come before you and request a referendum before that would happen.
And do you think that they're inclined to do that?
Yes.
You spoken to the chief there?
They've actually came to the town council, I don't know, it's been some years ago, and requested a resolution for tax district, and it didn't pass. I don't know how long ago that was. Shirley, you remember?
Not knowing for sure, but it's been a while.
It's been a while.
Do you know why it didn't pass? The reasoning behind it?
Well, I think at the time, the town council had a lot of questions that they had asked, and they didn't really get answered. Just, however you want to look at that. They sent out some questionnaires, things like that, and the fire department didn't respond to those questionnaires, so they didn't vote for the resolution.
They couldn't agree to.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Johnny, let me ask you this. You're talking about the new station being on Poplin and right off of Poplin and Rocky River, Poplin, Rocky River. You said you didn't cover anything on the other side of Rocky River, yet you're on Rocky River.
Right.
So that didn't kind of click. I mean.
Okay, so the line is basically Rocky River. Actually, we cover a little piece of Poplin Road down to the city of Monroe. So Glenda Lowe, which you're familiar with on Union Indian Trail that backs up into there, is the city of Monroe.
Yes.
So, but we cover half of, so the line kind of goes through there, half of Price Road up to Porter Ridge High School. And then, so we service all of Bonterra, we service all of Annandale, Fieldstone Farms, we'll service all of this new neighborhood built there. If the other neighborhood's approved on the other side of Union Indian Trail Road, we'll service all of that. So there's plenty of work out there.
And I'm assuming Hemby Bridge covers the same area that it's covered now, correct?
Yes.
It just seems like
so-
they're awful close together. I just, which, maybe not.
Yeah, actually, it's 7 minutes of drive time,
Is
so it's not that close. Based on, from where, where Hemby Bridge is located, the main station now, it's about 7 minutes to get over to Bonterra. So about any way you go through there, Annandale. Fieldstone Farms is, like I say, the best route for us is take Lawyers Road down and come in the backside. So especially since the bypass, it cut all the roads off Secret Shortcut, and now you got to, turn the weave back through there. So response times have gotten longer in those areas. But, to speak about being on the line, there's some of that area that's the Unionville Fire District across the road. So part of that would be in that 5 to 6 mile and then beyond 6 mile from their station. So at that point, some of those people in there that don't have homeowners insurance currently would be able to purchase that then.
Wouldn't it be, and this might be the last question I'll ask you, wouldn't it be that if you were on Poplin and Rocky River right there, that you may be a couple of minutes, you might be 2-3 minutes from an emergency, yet it would be Unionville that would be covering that.
Could happen that way, yeah.
Could happen. So you would think, and I don't know if this is the way it works, that you'd think if you got a call on a life or death situation, would you be the ones that responded if
Yes.
it were 2 minutes
Yes.
opposed to, I don't know what it
Yes.
would take them, 10, 15 minutes to get there, whatever?
Yeah, we would go.
Okay, all right, that's one.
Yeah, we would go.
All right.
Yeah, we kind of worked through all that, and actually, we're working toward, it's a painful process. I mean, to understand how all this works, and AVL, what we call AVL, which is, vehicle locator, and that's what, like, the police try to use. It doesn't work very well on our system because it goes through the GPS system of the computer that's in the truck. Not all the trucks have computers in them, so it's a cumbersome system. So we're working through that now, trying to get that through the radio system. But that requires more radio channels and more of those things for that to work that way. Once that AVL system's up and running on fire trucks, then you would always get the closest one. It wouldn't matter. Then I wouldn't have to hear it and say, oh, we're closer to that.
Gotcha.
Which is currently how it works in that situation.
Johnny, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Cohn, I have one question,
Wait a
if I
minute, I'm
may.
sorry, Johnny.
Couple of questions, Johnny.
Okay.
You've told me that Stallings already submitted a letter to the county that they're choosing the self-funded option.
That's correct.
Of course, they're going to do that. It's because they're served by Himby Bridge and also by Stallings, and both of them are taxed, right?
That's correct.
Right. Does Bakers, do they already serve Stallings?
No,
They don't at all?
no.
All right, so it's obvious for them to go ahead and submit that letter because
Yes.
they're not changing the funding.
That's correct.
All right, for us, I know you elaborated on that a little bit, since Bakers is fee,
Mhm.
and I'm pretty sure you've met with all of them, and I've met with Junior, and they have interest into bringing everybody to full-time employees and maybe have a similar budget to your budget. Do you think it's fair for us to go ahead and submit to, let's say, council decide on the option of self-funded based on Junior coming on board? So it's a given that if we're not changing anything that you're doing or Stallings, the only one will be Bakers. So we'll be telling the county that we're sticking to the self-funded except Bakers. Am I right? Am I there?
Yeah, I think that would be a fair statement. You're sticking to the self-funded for everybody except for Bakers, and then the county would have to say to Bakers, you need to go to Indian Trail and request that resolution and work on your tax district, so to speak. I think that would be a great time for the town then to say, you know, we want to take a look at this regional system and how all this works. Can we sit down and have this meeting? You know, I think moving forward, eventually, that's what it's going to have to be. You know, right now, the town of Indian Trail split 3 ways. So you're still getting 3 different levels of service. And that's really what this is all about. That's what it should be all about, is what the service is being provided to the citizen. And so I think at that point, that would be a good point to start taking a look at moving this forward, this study and this plan. You know, how does that work? You know, I think at that point. So yeah, I think if you say we support the self-funded model, nothing's gonna change. I mean, I've already been told that they're not doing anything for 2020. So fiscal year 20, they're not making any changes. So this would be for fiscal year 21, so next year. And so at that point, if we could start having those conversations now, we may have something in place. I mean, there's a couple of the regional system doesn't have to be ran by the municipality. You know, it could be ran by the county. There's options there. It's just we need to get in a room and we need to talk about it and figure out what's the best option for us. But I know that, you know, I think everybody can see under the current system, there's a great disparity between, you know, citizens living on this side of the road and citizens living on this side of the road. I've showed you that in the taxes versus the fees. You know, we've talked about that through the responses, all of those things. There's disparity.
So I did a quick little math. The 5.9 versus the 6.8 would result in an $18 increase in taxes for somebody on a $200,000 house. On somebody with a $300,000 house, it's about $27 increase in taxes. So if somebody is paying a $100 fee right now over in Bakers, and they own a $200,000 house, we're looking at a $36 increase for them if we go to the fire tax, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one other question, and that's something that I've asked. What if we do nothing? Is that something that we're forced as a town to do? Is that something that the county has mandated, that we give them a choice? Because I've heard a few times that we need to really get this done, and there seems to be a delay, and so it's kind of, you know, and this is the 4th time I think that we've addressed this. Not meaning that we shouldn't. I think something like that should be well debated. But I'm just trying to sort of look at it from the standpoint of, once I hear about taxes increasing, my hair starts turning gray, and I'm a young guy, so.
Well, I understand. So let's take that one piece at a time. Let's talk about the tax increase from 100 on the fee to 136. So you take that on somebody who, the examples that I used, I know before, was a mobile home on Bethel Lane beside Bethel Church over there off of Wesley Chapel Stouts. The property value's $60,000. They're paying $118 for fire protection. I took one on Secret Shortcut. It's a single wide mobile home, property value of 80-something thousand, and they're paying $17. So when you look at it that way, and then you take a look at Walmart over here, it's about, I don't remember now, like a $19 million property versus Dale Jarrett down there, or Crossroads Ford, which is 20-something million dollars, and Dale Jarrett's paying $210 and Walmart's paying $8,500. That's the problem with the fees versus the taxes. So yeah, the guy in the $300,000 house is going to be paying more, but the guy in the single wide mobile home's going to be paying a whole lot less. So it takes a whole lot more equipment, manpower, and things to deal with a fire in a $300,000 house than it does in a single wide mobile home. So proportionately, you're paying. You're paying for what level of service you're going to take based on your property.
So based on that description you gave, then, do you think that the funding levels will increase based on the tax versus the fee over in Bakers because you have a disparity in the size and value of the properties?
Yeah, I think it'll increase. I think their potential will increase.
So the revenue should increase, which means that the hiring of the 4 full-time guys and so forth, the budget should be able to cover that.
Yeah, well, now, I don't know if they're hiring 4 full-time guys.
That's
but-
we're just
Yeah,
saying that,
yeah.
but let's see.
It should, yes.
All right.
It should, yes. And then, so the second part of that, you're talking about raising taxes, and you know, if you look over the history of the funding for the fire protection, we're way behind based on what the building looks like. You know, the growth, construction, the roads. I mean, we're way behind where we need to be. All we're doing is we're getting further and further behind because we don't take a little piece at a time along the way. So the county is creating another situation with fire service, just like they did with the school system. So we didn't build a high school in Union County from 1961 to the year 2000. That's how far behind we were in 2000 whenever they opened the floodgate, started building high schools in year 2000. Now we're paying 40-something cent school tax on everything. So that's what's caused that. If we take a little piece along the way, it's not necessarily the big bite in the end. So a little piece along the way makes a big piece in the end, and that's kind of the way that we've looked at it. You know, and if you think about it, you know, $136 a year, you know, that's not that much for fire protection, and it's an insurance policy. Is basically what you're paying.
One last question, and I'll let you go. I apologize. The fire department would fall under whose jurisdiction? The town? You'd be answerable to the town, council, town manager, or county, or independent?
Well, currently, we're contracted with the town. So in a roundabout way, yes, we do answer to the town manager. He has the ability to talk at any point. And the town council, of course, figures into that. So we're contracted with the town, we're contracted with Union County. So I have a contract with all the municipalities that I cover plus Union County, and each one of those has some, you know, variation. They can call me up at any time and say, what about this, this, or this? But we are an independent corporation currently. So I work for a board of directors. So, and that board of directors oversees the fire department.
So that's not going to change that?
We're a 501c3, not currently under this plan, no. So moving forward, if, you know, the town wanted to do something in a regional setting where the municipals could step up and take part of that, yes.
Because the reason I'm asking that question is more or less from future funding.
I understand.
If you need to increase your funding, how do we, as a town, protect the citizens from trying to ensure that that is warranted? We do understand costs go up, but if it seems that if you're an independent corporation or a 501c3 we essentially have, or the citizens have no real recourse. And I'm just,
Yeah.
I'm
So-
saying that in that way, it doesn't necessarily,
Yeah.
I'm saying it nicer than it sounds.
I got you. But let me explain that process to you so that you understand that they do. So the Board of County Commissioners set that tax rate. So that's who sets the funding. See, the problem with the system is you guys control the growth. You guys have controlled the buildings that we're building, the number of houses we're building, the traffic that we're putting on the road. You guys control every bit of that. Union County controls the funding. So just like you, they've said, we want to keep our taxes low and they'll come, right? So they've kept the tax rate low, so they've held back the tax rate as the growth's gone crazy. So they haven't kept up with each other, if that makes sense, based on the need. And so Union County Board of Commissioners sets our tax rate every year. We've had a tax since 1984. It was established under the tax that we have. It was established through a referendum of the voters. So the voters went to the polls, voted yes or no for the fire tax. And it was passed in 1984, and since then it's been a nickel, since 1984.
Thank you, Johnny. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I think we need to move on. I mean, go ahead, ask one more question.
All I can say is I've had to use the emergency for my husband, and to know that they were there in just minutes, well, we're very close to the fire department too, but if your house started on fire, you just panic, and they're there as soon as they can be, and you don't realize how important this is. But, you know, I give you credit. I hear the sirens all day long, and I know that somebody's being helped quickly, and that's what we need to be concerned about.
Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yep.
Appreciate you.
Yep.
Okay, that moves us to solid waste recycling recommendation. Mr. Sada, Mr. Wanovich.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I won't be spending 10 minutes on this. This is another update. We've been meeting recently with the current vendor. As a matter of fact, we met with them today, and we continue to exchange information on issues, different way of doing things to save money and come up with the best solution to the recycling problem that we're having right now. I've mentioned last time that Adam, Jim, and I, we've researched many municipalities throughout the countries that they're facing this problem. We're also looking forward to receive some info from Monroe and Matthews, because both of them are currently looking into renewing, not renewing, but looking into a bidding or asking for RFPs for their services. In addition to that, we reached out to the county. We talked to the public work director there and got some info from him about the number of recycling centers that they have and what companies or what end users right now come in and pick up the stuff. As an example, what companies come in and pick up the glass, what companies pick up cardboard and paper, et cetera, et cetera. We found out that Sunoco is one of them. Another company in Charlotte that has another branch in Wilson, North Carolina, they come pick up the glass. So all this information is going to help us to come up with a good recommendation to council. We don't want to come into council unless we're 100% sure about the recommendation. We also communicate with Stallings right now. We're looking into future recycling centers, maybe on each side of Independence Boulevard that serves both municipalities. And we just want to weigh our options before we make a final decision. So simply, this is just an update, and we definitely, I think we're about 95% from reaching that option that we're going to come in and put before council. So I would say probably within a couple of weeks. And we did exchange info with the vendor that, you know, we're going to take our time before we make that decision. We're not simply going to react because of they made us aware that January the 1st, they won't start charging us this additional charge. So I think we have a common understanding that we're going to take whatever time we need to come up with the best option. Mr. Mayor, this is all what I have today, and definitely will keep council up to speed on where we're at. And hopefully, maybe within the next meeting, we'll come back and make a recommendation to council. Any questions?
Patrick, you said additional charges that they're gonna start billing us for that?
Yes, I said that right now, they're not billing us anything. We won't be billed anything, but the cost of recycling, there is a cost of recycling right now, additional cost that every municipality in the United States sort of facing right now, especially if the recycling material cannot be recycled. So what we're trying to do is kind of come up with a solution that, the least amount of money we could pay in order to keep some kind of recycling. So we just want to be 100% prepared with that recommendation when we're ready for council.
All right, thank you.
Jerry?
Yeah, Waste Management or Waste Connections, they were in the Inquirer Journal recently, promoting their recycling program and give back, gift cards, and it just seems like there's some hypocrisy going on. Indian Trail, you need to pay $300,000 more per year so we can have this recycling program. But then conversely, they in the paper, they're promoting, encouraging residents to recycle. So it's almost like, why don't we add to the problem by encouraging this kind of behaviors? And also, when I did a little research on Waste Connections, and last year they had one of the most profitable years on record. And yet they're trying to hold our town hostage. So it just So I take exception to that, and I just want you to hear how I feel about it when I read these things, and then yet they're asking for more money. Maybe they did underquote the contract, but I'm not inclined to make it easy on them. If we can work together, yes, but that's my feelings on it.
Yeah, definitely, Mr. Morse. One of the options is that we turn around and say we're not paying a penny, but we have to have a contingency plan if we choose to go that route. So well taken, sir. And both items were shared with them during one of our meetings too. But we will definitely keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us to Crooked Creek Phase 2 conceptual plan.
Thank you. I got it on my computer, Mike. I think.
Yeah, can you zoom
Sure.
out?
Thank you, Michael. All right, we're looking at the entire Crooked Creek parcel. The first thing I like to mention that this is the big Crooked Creek way right here shown in green. What you're looking at in yellow, this is wetlands. If you go on any of the federal website, the first thing you see is this, and we will pull it in another presentation to show you that it's out there. If you hover over Indian Trail, the first thing you see is this area in yellow. This area in yellow is wetlands. Sincerely, I recommend not to touch any of it, especially because we already disturbed some areas in the park, but it does have a weird shape. This red line that you see under the yellow, this is the floodplain. So every time you have an event, 10-year storm, 25-year storm, the soil is so saturated, and then you will get all this area wet. This is under the red line right here that you could barely see. During the last storm that we have, according to Mike Wright, this entire area was flooded. So if we look at this line right here, there are two red lines right there, and they extend down here under the baseball fields. They go up and go all the way across. The first one is a 100-year storm. That means every time we have a 100-year storm, there's a possibility that this entire area flood. With the 500-year storm, definitely this is what we experienced during the last hurricane. But the site was drained well, and it did not cause any damage. If we want to build anything within phase 2, which is simply this area right here, we have to stay off the wetland. The only thing we could do in wetlands most of the time, if you submit a Corps of Engineer permit, try to get a permit, is you could bridge over them sometimes without so much disturbance, but you cannot just go out there and wipe them out. We can't do that. They do have some permits that they allow do that, allow developer to do that, but they're very difficult to be approved. So simply what we're looking at, the left over area that we're looking at is this area right here. Now, if we looked at when Woolport in their past design, what they shared with the Town of Indian Trail, they shared this concept right here. And I think it's positioned right. Maybe it needs to be lifted up a little bit, but I think they plan to have the roadway coming this way. But you could see they encroach on the wetlands. Let's see if we lift it up a little bit more up to here, they still encroach on the wetlands. And I don't know why they did that. But anyway, that was an old plan. So what I shared with council recently, I shared about 14 components of a passive park. And the reason for the passive park is we only have $2.5 million. Let's say we agree that we want to build what Woolport proposed in the past. I will guarantee you that this will cost much more than $2.5 million. The parking lot by itself right here and crossing or going over the wetlands and construction route in and out and cutting all the woods, we could never make it with $2.5 million. So that's why we need to shy away from all these proposed facilities, because first we cannot afford it. Second, we'll be encroaching on the wetlands. Third, we'll be encroaching on items like this one right here. This is a creek. You have to have 30-foot, we call it water of the U.S. You have to maintain a 30-foot buffer on either side. If we want to cross it, we have to bridge over it somehow, and so on and so forth. So based on what Woolport's, the survey that they did with our residents and the recommendation that they made to the town, I would say the first 3 or 4 recommended components, fishing pond, trails, and I'm trying to remember what other items, but simply items that fall within a passive park. This is enough of talking about Woolport and us, so we know for sure that we cannot build what we want to build, all these facilities for $2.5 million. Now, staff and myself, we're working very closely with the Panthers to see if we could get $250,000 grant so we could build an artificial field right here across the street. And the reason why we're looking into an artificial turf, because we have issues between the season, during tournaments. We're not allowing the field to rest, so that way we could have better fields for our tournaments and our clients. So what we thought about doing is, if we move into an artificial turf, we could go ahead and provide that turf 365 a year. And then we don't have to come back and put additional soccer fields like you see 1, 2, 3, 4, as Wilper suggested. So we're keeping all the wooded area, we're not touching the wetlands, and also we do have a field that we could rely on. So simply, some of these components that we're proposing here before you. And I want to go to number 2. So we're not doing, this soccer field is a placeholder that we could come and do in the future and almost, fully design. All what we have to do is just submit this plan to a consultant firm to finalize the design. We're trying to save some money in here. I've met last week with the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts leader. They are very interested in coming in and having a space at Crooked Creek. I think having them at Crooked Creek will allow us to have a presence not only in the daytime but also at nighttime. So it will make the parks busier, and then what would be the best for Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts to camp in an area close to all the facilities that we have, a splash pad, this nice playground, the zip line, parking is available, and we probably expand a little bit on parking. Another item that could fit in here also, the gardens that we have next to our old town hall. We could, the number of those gardens is unlimited. We could put them anywhere in any open space we have. This trail right here already exists, so we don't have to do anything. But we have to tie in to our $5.1 million multi-use trail, or the Greenway. So one of the recommendations is to extend this trail paid by Crooked Creek funding all the way to here, and then pick it up from here, from the this line, this pink line right here, which is the property line, and Todd and his engineers will take off with it and connect it all the way to Independence Boulevard. Now, the reason why you could see that we put the trail, we could change this, but definitely we have to keep it certain distance from the wetland, because we're excavating, we're dropping trees, so we want to make sure that we're not disturbing. Another reason too is to keep it ADA. If you look at these contour lines in gray, in order to keep it ADA for disabled and for the rest of the trail, we're kind of running it in a flat area where the grade don't change. So we're in good shape doing that. Now, anytime we cross the wetland, it has to be a wooden bridge. So that costs more money too. So I think this is one crossing that we have no choice. We can't go up to this neighborhood. This baseball field is a placeholder. Please keep in mind, if we ever want to come back and do something like that in the future, we got to cut the woods. Working closely with Captain Chase, Captain Cody already moved to this neighborhood right here. This neighborhood, one thing impressive about this neighborhood, that all the houses are brick all the way around. Even whatever they have in the backyard is made out of brick. So Captain Cody, in communication with other residents in here, they would like to have a connection to Crooked Creek Park. Now, they are in Union County. One of the things that we're offering in our brochure, annexation brochure, is we have parks. You get to use our parks. So as we see right now, and I'm waiting on Captain Chase to give me additional information, they're very interested into having connection to the park. So staff and myself and Captain Chase, we want to work very closely to get them into Indian Trail. This is a great neighborhood, and it's a good chance to convince them to be annexed into Indian Trail. So that very simple park, Captain Chase and myself went out there. There is open area. It's not used by anybody. It's for all the residents. We could very easily put our trail in there if HOA agrees to be annexed and to be connected to the park. This one right here is something I picked up from the Miracle League. So I sized it based on the drawing that you look at. This is sort of like a 125-foot field. I looked on their website to see if there was a 200, but I couldn't find any. So this is mainly what they advertise on their website. So if we decide in the future to come in, and you could see this is our playground. Jason, if I'm mistaken, that's the playground, right? And right here is our maintenance shop. So I just wanted to use the worst case scenario. I threw it right in here and it fits. Because it needs to be next to the playground. Every Miracle League in America, they put the playground next to it, and they put some shelters for the family, etc., etc. The other one, this is about 200 foot, and as you remember, they wanted to put the 200 foot right here that it could not fit. And it will encroach onto the floodplain, also on the wetlands. So just for information, this can't be done anytime in the future. And I do have in the other presentation a cost estimate that I got from the Miracle League. It shows you exactly how much it cost with the amenities and without the amenities, and I think we were very close. Without the amenities, about $380,000. With the amenities, about $750,000 to $800,000. And I'll share that with you in a few minutes. To get back in here, so we have we have a space for the gardens. We have a space for Boy Scouts. We're running this trail right now, the same deal, running it, crossing the wetlands, coming in. Very big pond. This is, if you ask me, and looking at the contours and analyzing the ground and the grade, this is the best place for it. And it will have 5 foot deep for right now. We could go deeper, but to show you what needs to be done to put a pond out there, you have to cut all the trees and cut from here the upper part and put a dam at the bottom. So just keep in mind, in order to go in there and cut all the trees and dig the pond and move the soil and build the dam, where is the construction equipment going to go and come back from? The only place is they have to come around and access some kind of temporary road to here, in and out. So we look at stuff like that when we propose concepts like these. If we decide in the future we have the space for the soccer field, definitely we have to cut and back and fill, and that's a big cost too. So these are available for us to come back and put them on the future, in the future, but for right now, I don't think our money, if we take $1 million, let's say $750,000 plus the grant from the Panthers, if we get it, that's $1 million. That will leave us about $1.something million to do all these things. Another thing that we could very easily do also, one of the items that was favored from our consultant that we're working with is a BMX bicycling, which is, I talked to Jason. Jason told me, Patrick, they're professional. Usually they have to have it in miles. But what we're proposing right here is something simple for children. Captain Chase went to a couple of parks around here, and he took his family up there, and they stayed there, playing for 3 hours on their bike. We could very easily run a route, and this is the route that I'm talking about, what's shown in orange. And it doesn't cost us anything. It cost Adam to have one of his employees with a bush hog for approximately 2 weeks without cutting any trees, zigzagging around the trees. We don't have to put asphalt or gravel or anything, just natural stuff. They could start the BMX bicycle deal going all the way around, as you see, around the pond, around the wetlands, and come back to the finish line. So just to summarize it, the pond can be done, very big pond, fishing pond, the Boy Scout, the BMX, and all the additional, what do you call them, multi-use trail, this side and that side. The last item is, Captain Chase on one occasion and with Gary on another occasions. This is an Indian Trail community. This is a big community, and we could very easily, as identified by Captain Chase and myself, we could very easily connect to that neighborhood by installing this trail right here. And then also this part of the neighborhood by installing this trail right here. They do have sewer easements and sewer pump station right in here and right in here. So far, we're connecting to 3 neighborhoods. The last neighborhood that we could very easily also connect to is this one right here, which is a big one, and one up the street that can be very easily connected with a sidewalk. And as you see, it can be, this is an open area, they have parking, so people could come and park right here, take the trail, go over the bridge, and usually we have to find the smallest distance for the bridge to cost us less money, and then connect to the pond, to the neighborhood, and all the facilities at Crooked Creeks. I have not got an estimate yet. For the next week or so, we're going to put an estimate together to make sure that everything comes within budget. But as you see, most of the stuff are natural. They do not need to be maintained, and cost less than having amenities like buildings and et cetera, et cetera. In the future, we could very easily add more. We have space right in here. We could shorten the bicycle route. But we are very limited on the lower part because of the wetlands and the floodplain. So we have to be very picky about these features that we're putting right here where it's dry. But also we have to cut a lot of wood. So I wanted to share that with you today. The next step is to get a cost estimate, and then also when we come back before council and council are okay with all these things, then we go ahead and turn this conceptual design to a designer to fine grade and survey all the facilities. The Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, they're very interested. They're going to come back soon to tell us what they have. But simply, we told them we'd give them the space if council agrees, and they will take care of all the capital cost. And they're thinking about putting like 6, 7 cabins out there to start with, and then when they have enough money, they come in and put this small building in the middle, sort of like a classroom community center for them. But that, they know that they have to come up with the capital cost for that. So this is sort of a summary of what we're looking at to put at Crooked Creek, and the more we'll work with it, we refine it, come back before council. But if council is okay for what you're seeing tonight, we would like to expand and move forward with the design so we could go ahead and get something done this fiscal year and the first half of next year. I have a question from...
Mrs. Howell had her hand up first. Ladies first.
The Boy Scout little cabin there, is that used exclusively for them, or?
Yes, ma'am. That would be an area for them. The way they described it to me is like they keep a lot of equipment inside those cabinets, like musical equipment, whatever, especially if they build that middle building right there.
Okay.
So they got to have some kind of a privacy for those cabins and the middle building. A good question.
Could you shrink the map for a second?
Shrink it or go out?
Sure. Yeah, over to your top left. There's a little blue section to your left, your other left.
Here?
Yeah, right here. What? That is not owned by the town, right? That land is private.
This is upon the private.
Right. Based on that, this is not in the floodplain because I know that you're not necessarily representing their property, you're representing ours, meaning what the town owns. Do you think that in that area that housing will be what's going in there? Or, I mean, I know I'm asking you to guess, and that's probably not fair, but based on that, it kind of seems like it butts up to a current development, and that seems to be in Monroe, is it not?
I'm not sure, Rox.
Talking about the neighborhood to the left.
I'm talking about the land, the green sort of funny squares and the
This
little
one
blue
right
land.
here, right?
I would assume that'd be county property.
County property. So the question I was asking, well, what I'm really asking is, in terms of what's gonna go in there, if, next to the park there, just trying to figure that out. Because if it's county property, the town of Indian Trail or the residents of Indian Trail are the ones who paid the taxes or pay the taxes that allowed us to use the bonds to be able to develop these parks. And right now, we don't really card people to go into the park. So something coming in there would be able to benefit from all the things that we have there and what we looking to put in there.
Absolutely. Mr. McIntyre, it's not different than this. Chase and I and staff were very excited about it. Good values for the houses. It'll bring a lot of, the tax base. It will go up. So I would assume that definitely we'll follow up and make sure to have an annex into the area.
Yep.
I mean, they're right there. You just cross the 20-foot wood line and then you're in.
Exactly.
And that's why we're going to use it for marketing purposes. That look, we reach out to 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they're all going to have access to the park. This one, and these two right here, they're Indian Trail. This one is not, and it's going to become Indian Trail. So I think that'll be a win-win situation, and that's the intent.
Thank you. And Marcus, one thing we could do there, if they wouldn't come into Indian Trail, we could build a wall. Okay. All right, thank you, Pat.
Mr. Cronin, Council, if we're going to continue marching forward, and staff by the end of this month will be submitting our application to the Panthers. We'll keep our fingers crossed. If we get that $250,000, we'll move the 750, put it on the artificial turf that will serve us 365, Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for your in-depth synopsis there. Very nice. That moves us down to new business. Citizen of the Quarter, nominations for third quarter 2018. Do I hear any?
The citizen of the quarter, can it be a business?
It-
That it's in Indian Trail?
I don't know. I wouldn't think so, but I don't know. I would think it would have to be a citizen, because it's a citizen of the quarter. I don't know, Jerry. What would you think on that one?
That would be completely up to you all to vote on to just determine if that was acceptable or not. This is
Really don't
purely
know.
a council decision.
I don't know. What do you have in mind?
Well, we have one entity here in Indian Trail, Common Heart. It does a lot of good things. I've done a little bit of volunteer work with them, but they're doing a hunger walk. They feed the less fortunate, and
Does the person who lead the Common Heart live in Indian Trail?
that I don't know if Keith does or not, or
That'd be a good question, right?
I know that they're right there on Indian Trail Road, and they're in the business park right behind Unionville Indian Trail. So they have 2 storefronts. But that was one. And
Well, I think maybe we ought to look into that if you want to. I'd have a nomination too, and then maybe for the future we look into that, or we can think about it. I really don't have an idea, but I had had a nomination for a gentleman named Pete Kimbrell, and people in Indian Trail may know Pete as the guy that does the Christmas lights over in Brandon Oaks. That I think this year they had about 10,000 cars that went through there. As a matter of fact, I met them going through and looking at the Christmas lights, and it took us about an hour to get to his. And he had 11. I think he said he had 11 neighbors helping direct traffic. They had bleachers that sat out in front of in somebody's yard to watch his house. Yeah, it was quite amazing. But after talking with him, I found out that he gives every dime of his money. Every dime and they have a bowl out there, and they have people that take money. If you want to donate money to see, it's a fantastic show. goes to the Cancer Society. And he's been doing that for years. And I think, if I remember right, last year he raised maybe $7,000, $10,000, and then the year before that, spent $10,000 a year, and every dime of that goes back to the Cancer Society. And it's a full-time job to do what he does, and for all of it to go, I think is a phenomenal thing at what he does. You're going to see and I won't elaborate too much on this, but I have asked him because when we went through it this year, you turn your radio on when you go in there and and I mean, it's really fascinating has anybody in here been over there to see it? It's, yeah, isn't it nice? It's very nice. But he's wanting to kind of take it out of the neighborhood because even though his neighbors are very nice about it, could you imagine if it took me an hour to get to his house down those roads, that we were blocking a lot of driveways and people are just good folks over there. They just flat want to help instead of complain. But pretty soon they're going to start complaining. I mean, you can only take. So he's actually going to move it. He wants to move it, and I don't want to elaborate too much on this. He's talked to the farms out there off Poplin Road, and I heard this on the radio because he talked about it before the light show on the recording that he has on there. And he wants to do like a Christmas town. What's the farm? I should know it right there. What is it? Wiseacres. He's got with Wiseacres, and they're good people, and they have leased their land out to him for $1 a year, I think, for 20 years. And he wants to build a town out like a movie set town, all around out there with lights and whole 9 yards. But I'm kind of got way ahead of myself. But he wants to do that, and again, give every dime to the Cancer Society, and I've met some of the other people that want to do this. I find it moving, and I find him an extremely genuine person, I guess is the best way to put it. And he's going to come during a council meeting. I asked him to, just like we did tonight at 5:30, and maybe give us 30 minutes. He can lay it out and show you exactly what all he plans to do or would like to do. It's going to be quite expensive, but of course he's trying to raise the money to do that. But anyway, I would like to nominate him for all he does for the town, and I hope that everybody in the council and everybody in this room gets to know him because he's quite a good person, quite a genuine person.
What's his name?
Pete Kimbrell.
I have one other nomination that's in attendance tonight, and we all know her. I've been reluctant to do this because she's a friend, and I don't want it to have any appearance that it's because of a friendship. But I'd like to nominate Lorraine Evans. And the reason being, Lorraine is involved in quite a few charitable organizations. She supports the Sheriff's Department during Thanksgiving and Christmas, has for many, many years. She's involved with Annie's Kindness Blankets. And I don't want to give you the history on Annie's Kindness Blankets because I wouldn't do it justice. But this is something that's freely given to others. And she's one of our, to steal this from Mr. Bush, she's one of our 1,000 points of light here in Indian Trail, just like the Common Hearts, and sounds like Pete Kimbrell. So I just want to put that name in the hat, not necessarily to be chosen at this time, but perhaps at a later date, maybe she would be also a good selection as well.
I have to agree with you. I think she's a good person, and she lives with Gary. So I mean, and she can do that. So I mean, that's even more of a strong point to her. But I agree. In contributing to the Sheriff's Department every year, the food that they give, and man, Jerry, you did have to throw that one out there, and that's a tough decision. Anyway, do I hear any nominations?
I don't have any, you've nominated one?
Well, I didn't really nominate one, I perceived one. Let me propose this, because I think the world of Lorraine, and I think the world of this guy. Do we want to try to do a one time, or is that impossible?
But this says third quarter. We're in the first quarter of 2019.
Well, that
Why
makes
not
it
just
even
do
easier,
a
doesn't
third
it?
and a
Is
fourth?
this the third, for the
and
third quarter?
Third and
Well,
fourth.
why don't we do one for the third quarter?
And the fourth quarter.
How smart is that? Do one for the third quarter.
I'm going to make it even harder for you, too.
And we'll cover two, what now?
Jerry's gonna make
I want to make it
harder
even
for you.
harder for you, too.
No, man, Jerry, we
I'm
almost out
sorry.
of the woods.
But, Mr. Falconberry did mention the gentleman's name, and he served this town for many, many years, and he is in the final chapter of his life, Arthur Spur. He has done some good for the town, and so I'd at least like to, recognize him as well and put his name in the hat.
I agree too. I think Arthur Spur is another good one. I'm going to go ahead and we want to do for the fourth quarter, and then we'll go back and do the third quarter. I'm going to nominate Pete Kimball, and if somebody else wants to put up a nomination at that time for it.
Oh, before we go, can we do a call for the third and do one for the fourth?
Sure.
I mean, we're the council, right? I mean, there's no rule against that. We can't decide that. I think we have three excellent candidates.
Well, I think you just made a nomination for all three of them.
Yeah.
So all in favor? Raise your hand.
Wait a minute.
It's unanimous.
Set for the third
And
and
we'll
fourth,
do.
We'll decide
Is it
who-
okay
who-
that we do, we'll do two for the third, we'll do Art for the third, and we'll do, and the reason I wanted to get Pete in the fourth is it's around Christmas time, be a good time to put him in there, do Art and
Lorraine,
Lorraine at the same time.
yes.
And all are very, very worthy.
So
And don't come up with
congratulations.
another
No,
name.
I was just thinking, in the future, could we not maybe engage the Lions Club and the Rotary to make some suggestions as well?
No.
It's just, some other organizations to bring forth the nominations. Because I definitely don't want to get in any illusion of nepotism so it would be nice.
It's set in stone. No, I think it's good choices. Asking them to also share names if we cannot come up with any is also a good idea.
Well, the one thing about that, Jerry, is, they did that for the I think for the parades. And then council said, we don't want you doing it for the parades. We want, if I remember right, the council said, we want to do it. We want to choose. So now we're kind of going back and forth on what we do or what we want to do. And I understand it's two different things, but I think, in my opinion, it's the council's decision, not, because you're getting the same thing there. I'm not, you get the same, you got the same thing there with who they want in there opposed to, and are they, who are they choosing, so.
Right. Yeah, and I'm only approaching it from at least them providing the nominations, not necessarily that they're deciding, but it would be nice if, at least for me, that if
Okay.
there was some choices brought forth versus me bringing the choices to you guys.
Well, that's good. You're getting out to meeting the people. That's pretty good.
So we've got three to cover the three quarters.
Okay, well,
we made a nomination, right?
we already voted on it. Didn't we vote on it? I mean, we
We
did
did.
vote on it. Yeah, we've done it. We're done. We can move on to the town staff recruitment update with Mr. Sadik.
Michael, if you don't mind. Is it working? Yeah, I just wanted to give council an update. We had 7 positions that were open. Right now, we're filling 4. Todd told me today that the engineer's position also will be filled, so that's 5 out of 7. Jim and Rox are working diligently on getting somebody on board. So within, hopefully, 2 to 3 weeks, we'll have full staff. which is, I give a credit to staff because a lot of municipalities, especially jurisdictions around us, they're having difficulty getting people on board. So staff worked very hard to make this happen. So thank you all. If we could scroll down, this is the cost estimate that I got from the Miracle League website. And simply you could see with options and without options, but that's close to what we came up with. And this is with options sort of fully loaded, but definitely if funding's available in the future, we could fit it within our area at Crooked Creek. This is this is what I got from, I think, the Corps of Engineer website. It shows Crooked Creek, but you could see that, you know, they're kind of very strict about delineating the area. Just want to share that with council. This is closer. It's similar to what our consultant, you could see that you can't do much in that area, especially when it's wet, and it might have also endangered species in it. We've been, I just wanted to share this with council. We've been working with this lovely lady that she owns the house. Todd, could you remind me what neighborhood was that? Oakstone. And simply, her house was the last house in the neighborhood and also the smallest one. And there was a reason for that because I think the developer was trying to fit it within the lot. But you could see what kind of problem she's facing out there. And it is a stream, and you have to maintain 30-foot buffer on either side. Probably she was not privileged to know all this information. I'm pretty sure maybe without picking on anybody, it's the real estate agent to make her aware of all that stuff. But not much she could do in her backyard, which is this area, part of it in her backyard and part of it is not. And when you have a bad storm, you're running into something like that. She contacted the town on many occasions in regard to this area that you see on the right-hand side. That's within her property too. Not much we could do. I mean, we cannot go out there. Well, we did something is I approved a task to a company to come in and delineate this stream, and it costs us some money, and usually we don't do that. But to, you know, add some comfort to hers, and look what, you know, she did build that bridge over, but she wasn't expecting something like this when you have a bad storm. And this is, you could tell this is some kind of wetlands next to, in the back of her backyard, adjacent to her backyard. When she submitted for permit, she came in and staff, you could see right here, they X'd it because they were knowledgeable about that the plat was missing some natural information in it. And then you could see the trail right there highlighted in skip lines, and this is the one that we approved. So a lot of people, sometimes they don't get the right exhibit that they received from the developer or the builder. But this is something Mr. McIntyre, and I appreciate what he did today. He, you know, she reached out to him, and we've been working with her, Todd, according to Dalton, probably since June. So we never left her out there alone. We've been communicating with her, monitoring the website, and almost this is what we do with every time we have a storm drainage problem. So the engineering department and the planning department, they work very close with residents out there. Sometimes there's something we could do, sometimes there's something we can't do. So we do our best, and I wanted to share that with council. This is sort of like weekly routine that we run into. And that's just a few items. We're working very closely with Karen in regard to the Sardis Roundabout real estate acquisition. And there is a meeting on January the 31st for the Indian Trail Complete Street. That's correct, Todd? So we hope council could attend. Chestnut Lane, Phase 1, which is our street from Independence to Matthews Indian Trail. We have advised the state today that we're going to keep that street for many reasons. And the first reason is the Olympic swimming pool construction began. The state usually have a preference in regard to access management. That means if we give them that roadway, they could dictate where those driveways are at. The same thing for the hotel, the same thing for the Lemon property, and they will take the on-street parking away. The last 3-4 weeks, that street, Carolina Courts and the park, it was full of cars. And I'm getting to a point right now that we cannot just release those parking spaces and lose them, especially with the additional developments that coming in around the sport facility. So they have not reacted yet, but we'll see how they react. The other reason why is Monroe Road has been delayed. That means the connection to Monroe Road for Chestnut Parkway Phase 3 is going to be delayed. And also this signal right here on Independence that will allow us a left turn is going to be delayed. So here they are. We cannot stop our development and allowing the peripheral properties on either side of this roadway that we own to wait, until DOT complete their projects. That's a significant impact that will impact our developers and our properties. So I'll share with council how they're going to react to that, but definitely we're looking after our interest. So Todd will keep us posted on that. And Olympic swimming pool facility construction began. If you drive by there, you could see they're beginning to cut some trees. We've received some update on the bowling alley, the PetSmart. Definitely, Roxy stepped out. Definitely, we're not going to entertain metal buildings. When we talked to the developer, we agreed on the frontage to be brick, part of the side to be bricks. But they're proposing a metal building right now with little decoration at the front, and we probably reject that. And then the hotel, according to Mr. Evans, I think we're in good shape. I think they agreed on the price, and they should be signing soon, right, Gary? Okay. Friday morning, and then we do have somebody is interested in taking the Lemons property and build the apartments. It's a different developer, and the advantage of that is the first developer that came before council, Sterling, they were planning on building 2-story garden apartment. This developer, probably because we want the density around the facility, he'll be willing to put 3-story apartments. And probably he'll reduce the number of units, but definitely our preference is for the 3-building apartments. If they come in, they will come before council during a workshop. Yes, First Avenue. I know the First Avenue neighborhood very eager to hear about what's happening. Labella began the design, so they're going to send a geotechnical engineer out there to make sure that the pond and the pump that we're putting out there, the pond doesn't percolate or we don't run into any rocks. So if everything is okay, the pond will be built and the pump will be installed too. That's all the items that I have for tonight. If you have any questions, please. Any questions, Mr. Cohen?
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Brings us no discussions items, your manager's update. Do you have anything for managers? Okay, I thought you were doing, I'm sorry.
That's okay. I'm sorry. Dave.
No, that's my fault. Council comments.
Mr. Head.
Short and sweet. Thanks, everybody, for coming. I think we've had a great meeting, and drive home safe.
Mr. Morse.
Yeah, my comments are for the council, and that's for us to truly be cognizant of the stormwater issues going on in Indian Trail now. And it is due to the growth. So 2 things that I heard tonight was, yeah, we're growing, but we aren't, evidently, growth does not necessarily mean that you're going to get better infrastructure services and whatnot. So let's just, be patient, really think it through. When these developers come before us and, challenge them. I thought that was a good developer that came this evening. Sounds like he's really willing to work with us, but my concern is whenever we bring in a development, it does not negatively impact anyone else that's already presently there. It's just not fair for a new shiny to come into town at the expense of the residents and other businesses. So that's pretty much my comments for tonight. Thank you all for coming.
Mr. McIntyre.
I'll make mine short and sweet. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Do appreciate you being here, being part of the meeting. In regards to things going on around the town, sometimes some of those things are beyond our control. The funding for the roads in North Carolina, funding seems to be lagging the development and the growth that we've seen. And unfortunately, there's nothing that we as voters can really do immediately, or residents can really do immediately about that. But anything that comes before us here on council, we do deliberate and we do look into it. For instance, if I know somebody's coming before the town to present, I like to get that information before and drive it myself to get a good view and a good feeling of what exactly they're asking, where it's really going to be, and kind of see the impacts of some of that around. I remember, Jerry, you and I did that a couple months ago when we looked at a couple projects that were coming up, just going out there and not just sitting here and saying, well, yes, we approve, we disapprove, but to really get out there. So we do take our time and we do put a lot of thought into whatever it is that comes before us, thinking of the residents who are here, because whether it's taxes or housing or growth or shopping, we all live in Indian Trail and it affects us as well. So we have that in mind whenever we go about making these decisions. But thank you, everybody, for coming, and have a great evening.
Mr. Combs.
Sentiments, exactly. Thank you for coming, and, we always thank staff, because staff does such a great job, but, I'm not butting about it, you're the greatest. But I just can't help it that, I just want to thank my fellow council members again for what you do, and how you have turned around a situation that we've had here for years. And now, your hard work, Jerry, it shows tonight by what you do at the meetings on the roads, and how you're everywhere. And Marcus, you're out seeing properties, and Shirley, probably knows more about the town and been to more town meetings than any person in the world, and it's all because of the love of your town. And then we've got Mike over here, who's now working with all these municipalities, and just trying to make everybody a better, make our towns all better. And I enjoy working with you. I'm proud to work with you, and I'm just grateful that you're here, and I thank you. And I don't agree with everything that you say, and I know you don't agree with everything that I say, but hey, we're doing it, and thank you, guys. That's all I got to say.
And Mrs. Howe.
I thought you lost my card there for a minute. Again, we'll start with staff. Thank you so much. You really don't know how important you are unless you're on the council, when we see all the work that you do, that we get the end results to make a decision. And there's a lot of heart and soul going into that, and I appreciate that. I hope everybody drives safe. It's supposed to freeze, or there's something on the roads tonight, so my husband already gave me instructions on if I hit the black ice, what I'm supposed to do besides scream. I don't know. But again, it's a good council, and I'm proud to be associated with them. We've worked hard to keep it this way. A lot of people don't accept it because there's no argument, but I've gotten more compliments from people that I've ran into, and saying how nice, they're proud of the council now. They're proud of the town. And that was the goal, to do what's best for the town, not for you or your friends, but what's best for the town. Thank you.
Oh, we do have a, I'm sorry, Mike, we do have a public, not a public, we do have a closed session tonight, NCGS 143318.11A3 and 5. So I guess we'll adjourn to the.
Make a motion to go into closed
Make a
session.
motion and to go into closed session.
So moved.
Ms. Howell has so moved it. Let's vote on it. And all in favor? That's unanimous.